Hello, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible and the screen is visible to all of you.
Good evening,
Okay,
Prachi.
great. Okay, great. So
Good
we will
evening.
start. Yeah, good evening. We will start with the session now. This is Prachi from IMC Training Department, your training facilitator. And I would like to thank you all for joining us today. So during the session, please feel free to drop your questions by making use of the chat box here or by raising your hands so the service team or the trainer can respond accordingly. However, please make sure to keep yourselves on mute to avoid any kind of distraction during the session. So, we will start with the session now. I'll be giving a small and quick introduction regarding the training process and flow, and then it will be followed up by your training. But before we start, I just want to confirm and let you know one thing that I hope you all are being already added to the WhatsApp group. But by any chance, if any of you is not been added till now, no need to worry. Just make sure that you inform this to your counselor. That means your relationship manager who enrolled you with IMC. Inform them that you're not been added in the group so that they can share your details with our team. We will be able to review the request, and after reviewing, we will be able to send you an invite to join the group. So, yeah, we will start now. I wanted to take a moment to introduce IMC to you all. So, IMC is the leading global marketplace for learning and instruction. Our platform offers a diverse range of courses across various disciplines, enabling individuals to explore their passion and acquire new skills. With personalized learning experiences and expert guidance, we empower you to achieve your goals and turn your dreams into reality. Now, I would like to give you few points of what are the takeaways that you will get from this training. Number 1, understanding the quality concepts and the evolution of Lean Six Sigma. Second, discuss Six Sigma and benefits to sustain business improvement. Third, explain the role of Six Sigma in customer service and continual improvement. Fourth, apply and implement, define, measure, analyze, improve, and control problem solving methodology. Fifth is examine the statistical background supporting Six Sigma project. Sixth, comparison between the various tools usually used in Six Sigma project. And last, to develop Six Sigma and assess organizational readiness to launch a successful Six Sigma project. Now, it's time for us to meet our trainer, Mr. Sridhar Srinivasan. So, I'm honored to introduce Mr. Sridhar.
हाँ जी क्या हाल है?
Excuse me, I'll request everyone to please
अरे कुछ
check
नहीं है, उसके
yourself
पास
and
कुछ जवाब
please
नहीं
put
पता है,
yourself
तो
on mute.
समझ में नहीं आया मुझे वो क्या कहना चाहती है।
Mr. Kulvinder Singh, I would
वो
request you
मैंने
to
उसको
please
पूछा
make sure you are
कि
on mute. Okay. Yeah, am I audible to all?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay.
Yes.
Please, everyone, make sure that to check your mics, and if it's unmute, please make sure you're muting yourself so that we can distract any kind of distraction during the sessions. Okay. So yeah, I was stating, let's meet our trainer, Sir Sridhar Srinivasan. So I'm honored to introduce Mr. Sridhar, a highly respected expert with over 30 plus years of experience across diverse functions and domains. With a career that spans global corporations and institutions, he brings a wealth of knowledge gained from his extensive experience in the UAE, India, Saudi Arabia, and other regions. Sir Sridhar holds Lean Six Sigma certifications and is an accredited trainer for the same, demonstrating his commitment to excellence and continuous professional development and growth. So, we are glad to have you with us, sir. Welcome. And I can assure you all that you all are going to have a great session with him. So please be rest assured. Now, I would like to give you all a quick overview about the training and guidelines. And it's important that we all understand the expectation and procedure that are in place to ensure a beneficial and convenient training for everyone. So, coming on the training guidelines, IMC will send the batch guidelines, drive links for the recordings and materials, and class Zoom links via WhatsApp group. We will send the class Zoom links daily in the WhatsApp group. All the necessary and additional materials will be shared during the training by the trainer. Recorded training videos and other relevant training materials will be available in the provided shared drive within 24 hours after each session. And yes, it's mandatory to download these videos and materials and keep it safe with you, as it will be deleted within 3 to 5 days after the completion of the whole program. But please be rest assured, before deleting it from the drive, we will notify you in the group, so no need to worry. Moving on to the attendance part. So students have to attend the full program, and in case if he or she cannot attend the class due to any urgent or any valid reason, an email notification is required to be sent to support@imccertifications.com. Now here I have attached the snap for the schedule, which I have already shared in the WhatsApp group and on your emails. So kindly check the date, time, and join accordingly. If there will be any further changes in it, we will definitely notify you in the WhatsApp group and via email. So please be rest assured. Now let's move to the assessment part. So students are advised to take the exam as per our scheduled date. However, it is recommended to complete the exam within the following time period below to ensure that the exam questionnaires to appear on their assessment are aligned with the topics and materials covered during the training. At the same time, to avoid them exceeding the given duration of 3 to 4 months to complete, as it incurs corresponding fees for the extension or examination. And now moving on to the final step, which is certificates. So at the end of the exam, you will receive a pass or fail response from the system, and make sure to fill out all the required details needed for your certificates. Your certificates will be reflected and can be downloaded on the same page within 4 to 5 business days after payment verification ensures that all dues are being cleared. Once you fail, you may request to retake the assessment by just clicking the Reset Exam tab. The certificates that will be issued will not contain any kind of percentage or marks achieved. Also note, there is a policy that IMC does not share the transcript with the candidates. In case if the candidate is dissatisfied with the result, he or she can sit for a re-exam. And in the last, I would like to present to you a short video clip introducing International Management Consultancy. Please have a look.
Quality, innovation, respect, and integrity. Take steps to invest in your career. International Management Consultancy is the leading global marketplace for learning and instruction, helping professionals across the industry to develop skills and expertise to get recognition and growth in the corporate world. We are one of the leading training providers and gradually spreading our training facility amongst candidates based at different geographies, such as Canada, United States of America, United Arab Emirates, Saudi, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, Lebanon, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Philippines, India, and many other countries across the globe. IMC is accredited by the highest industry standards. We put in the efforts and we work to prove our commitment to offering our clients only the best and of superior quality. With a uniquely immersive curriculum that combines live instruction from the leading experts, peer-to-peer collaboration, on-demand lessons, unlimited online trainings, and 24/7 learning support. IMC helps over thousands of professionals learn their skills needed to advance their careers and reach their full potential. In line with our commitment to excellence, IMC offers a number of training courses preparing professionals for certifications and exams given by the international associations in areas like management, finance and accounting, human resources, sales and marketing, quality administration, and as well as project management. By fully attending these courses and successfully completing the requirements of the certifying body, participants will receive a special certificate which recognizes their dedication and commitment and in many cases help them earn valuable continuing education credit. IMC Consultants has been working together with their clients from various industries in aligning their people and processes to compete through high speed, excellent quality, and low cost. We strongly believe that the key to our success is our total commitment in delivering value to our clients based on integrity, honesty, and openness. If you are uncertain about which roles or skills are best for you, hurry! Come visit our website or talk to our expert education consultants today. Take a step, invest in your future, empower your knowledge, and be one of our success stories. International Management Consultancy, excellence is what we deliver.
So once again, thank you so much everyone for joining us today and choosing IMC. Now over to you, sir. You may proceed with the training.
Thanks a lot, Prachi.
Sure, sir.
So good evening, friends. Am I audible to you all?
Yes,
Yes,
I
sir.
do.
Yeah.
Audible.
Super.
Yes, sir.
Good. So a warm welcome from my side. I'm Sridhar, your trainer for the Six Sigma Masterclass Elite sessions. So just a brief about this training session. As you all know, this is a weekday session conducted only during the weekdays. So we will not have any sessions on Saturdays and Sundays. So we will have a 3.5-hour session each and every day. And in between, we will have a 15-minute break so that we can refresh ourselves and then come back for the training session. So it will not look pretty monotonous, right? So you need to have some kind of a refresh in the middle, right? So that we can recoup our energy and come back and attend the rest of the session. So somewhere during the mid part of the day's training session, we will have a 15-minute break. So with regard to the assessments, as you would have seen in the schedule, right? So we will have the assessments conducted on the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th day of this training session. So on the 9th day, you will have the mock test conducted for the green belt assessment. On the 10th day, we will have the final green belt assessment conducted. And on the 11th day, we will again have the mock test conducted for the black belt assessment. And on the final day, we will have the final assessment conducted for the black belt certification. So the mock test will be for half an hour duration. It will be just for 30 minutes. This will actually help you to practice, right? And also will give you some kind of an understanding as to what sort of questions will be asked during the final assessment. And the final assessment will be for 60 minutes, wherein you need to answer 50 multiple choice questions. So this is an open book exam, means you can refer to any material and then answer those questions. So it will be multiple choice. You just need to pick the right answer, right? It will be a mix of both statistical exercises as well as the theory part, right? So 50 questions to be answered in 60 minutes, right? So that is the requirement. And we will have 50 questions for green belt final assessment, and we will have 50 questions for the black belt final assessment as well. And then with regard to the concepts that we are going to see, right? So I know that many of you might be attending the quality related training for the first time, right? So you may not have any prior exposure to all these quality concepts, right? So for their benefit, we will start everything right from the scratch. So it's not like I'm going to assume that you are already yellow belt certified or you have done some quality related training program, right? So I'm going to just consider that each one of you are starting your quality journey at this point of time. So for the benefit, so we will actually start everything right from the scratch. And as part of this training session, we will also be learning some of the statistical tools and techniques. That means we'll be working out quite a good number of statistical exercises as part of this training program. But then no need to worry. So even if you are not familiar with the subject, right, as I told you, we are going to start everything right from the scratch. So we are also going to, start from ABCD of statistics, right? And we are going to restrict ourselves to learning only those tools which are required as part of our Six Sigma curriculum. So statistics, as you know, is a very vast subject, right? Even I am not a statistician. So I come from a finance background. So I know statistics only to the extent of what is required as part of our Six Sigma curriculum. And we are also going to strictly, restrict only learning only those what are actually required as part of our Six Sigma curriculum. And then as part of our statistical exercises, right? So we will also solve these statistical problems using a software called Minitab. So Minitab is the statistical software that is used by the Six Sigma community. And the trial version of this Minitab software is a free download. So I'll be sending you the link for downloading the free trial version of this Minitab software sometime on the fourth day of this training session, or immediately after the third day sessions are over, that is coming Friday. I'll be sending you the link to download the free trial version of Minitab software. You can just try to download the same during the weekend, so that when we start working on these statistical exercises from the fourth day onwards, so first 3 days we are going to discuss only about the theoretical part. So only from the fourth day of this training session, we are going to get introduced to the statistical tools and techniques. So we will start working out those statistical problems from the fourth day. So at that time, if you are able to download the trial version of Minitab software, it will be good. So you can also get some good practice, solving all those problems using this Minitab software. But for some reason, you are not able to download it because you might be using your office laptop and there could be some, firewall restrictions, right? So you'll not be able to download any external software. So it's absolutely fine. Even if you're not able to download the Minitab software, it is not going to be a showstopper for you, right? So we have the Excel formula. We also have the manual formula. So we are going to learn solving all those statistical exercises using the Excel formula, as well as, in some of the cases, we may also use the manual formula to actually solve those problems. And then for those problems that are likely to come as questions in the final assessment, I have also provided you with the template. So I have compiled all these statistical exercises in a separate file, in a separate Excel file, which I will show you shortly. So I have also given the templates, for you to solve these statistical exercises. In fact, we will be using the calculation logic that is applicable for a particular statistical concept to solve a problem. Then for some reason you find it very difficult to understand the calculation logic, it's absolutely fine. So you just learn how to input the data in the template that I'm going to provide to you and how to interpret the answer. That is more than sufficient for you to answer all these statistical questions in the final assessment. In fact, in the final assessment, I would strongly recommend you to use these templates because it will save lots of time for you. Even though you are aware of the formula or the calculation logic to be applied for solving a statistical exercise, but then the final assessment is always better to use the template because it would help you to save lots of time. So that is the main thing, right? So please do make full use of those templates that I'm going to provide to you. Just understand how to input the values in that template and interpret the answer, right? So we are going to keep it very, very simple. So we are not going to, kind of, have some complex examples, right, for explaining these concepts. So I know that you're all coming from diversified professional backgrounds. So I cannot just, stick to one particular area and provide an example. So most of my examples would be generic in nature, right? So to explain a particular concept, obviously I'll be providing some examples. So those examples would be pretty much generic in nature. So you need to try and correlate with your own work-related scenarios, right? So in case you find it difficult to correlate a particular example with your own work-related scenario, you can always connect with me. So it's not as if you need to ask questions only during this training session. So you can also connect with me offline. So my WhatsApp number is very much available in the common WhatsApp group. So you can just pick my number from there and you can connect with me during the daytime, right? So whenever I am free, I will definitely provide you with a response, right? So it's not that you need to wait till the start of the next day's session and then ask me the questions, right? And as part of this training session, I'm not going to show any PPTs to you. As I told you, I'm going to keep it very, very simple and very, very easy. So I'm going to actually take you through the notes that I've already compiled for you. And these are the notes which we'll be discussing on a day-to-day basis. And we'll keep updating. So as and when we, discuss about a particular concept, so we will keep updating this notes file on a day-to-day basis. And this updated notes file will be sent to you all at the end of each day's session to the common WhatsApp group, right? So if you're not part of the common WhatsApp group, as Prachi told you, please ensure that you are part of the same, because you'll receive all these materials only through the common WhatsApp group, right? So from the fourth day onwards, as I told you, when we start, working on these statistical exercises, I will also be sending you the updated statistical exercises file, right? So both these notes and statistical exercises files are in the Excel format. So you'll be receiving 2 Excel files from me from the fourth day onwards. So the first 3 days, you will receive only the updated notes file. From the fourth day onwards, you will start receiving both the updated notes file as well as the updated statistical exercises file from my side, right? And it is enough if you are going to revise all these concepts looking at the notes and the statistical exercises. So I would strongly recommend you not to really refer to any other material till the assessments are over. Once the assessments are over, you can refer to any Six Sigma material, right? So till such time, please stick on to the notes and the exercises file that I'm going to share with you on a day-to-day basis. So you don't have to really refer to any other material. This will be more than sufficient for you to clear the assessments with flying colors. Yes, please.
Hi, Sridhar.
Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm the group name. Is it
Yeah.
ending with the batch number, right? 557.
Yeah, batch number 557. Correct.
Great. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Fine. So you don't have to really refer to any other material. Why I'm saying this? Because I've seen, participants getting confused by referring to multiple materials. And, these are some of the advanced statistical tools and concepts that we are going to learn as part of the training session. So it can be very easy for someone to get confused with all these things, right? So in order to avoid confusion, it's better that we stick on to the notes and the exercise file till the end of the training session, till you give the assessments. After that, you can definitely refer to the other materials. So there is no restriction at all. And as just to help you revise, all the concepts that we are going to learn as part of the training session, I will also be sending you some quiz questions, right? So the weekend quiz is quite famous. So these answering these quiz questions, again, let me make it very clear, it's not mandatory, right? So just for your own benefit that I'm sending all these things. So it's not like you're going to score some extra points in the assessments if you're going to answer all these quiz questions, or you're not going to be penalized if you do not actually attempt these quiz questions. So it's just for your own benefit that I will be sending a set of quiz questions periodically, so that it can really help you to revise all the concepts that we would learn as part of this training session. And these quiz questions you can attempt and then retain the answers with you. So you need not actually send the answers to me, but then the correct answers for the quiz questions will be shared with you after a couple of days' time. So we will give sufficient time for you to attempt the quiz, and then you can always validate with yours, right? So in case of any uh, question answered incorrectly, so you can always check. In case of any doubt or clarification required, you can always check with me. As I told you, you can also connect with me during the daytime, right, through the WhatsApp number that is there, part of the common WhatsApp group. So you can pick my number from there, and you can also just connect with me in case of any clarifications required with regard to the quiz questions, right? So please do attempt all these quiz questions. So it will definitely help you to revise well for the final assessment, right? So some of the question formats are likely to repeat in the final assessment as well. So it really pays you, attempting all these quiz questions. So it's not going to be a waste of effort, waste of time for you. So it'll be good practice, and you'll also get some idea as to what sort of questions will be asked in the final assessment as well. That's the final thing that I wanted to let you know is about the project exercise. So it's very, very important for you to work on a Six Sigma project after the training sessions are over, right? So during the training sessions, please do not think about the project exercise. So your focus should be to clear the final assessments with flying colors, right? So that should be the single focus. But after the training sessions are over, I would strongly recommend each one of you to identify a problem area at your workplace and then apply all these learned tools and techniques and drive it as a Six Sigma project exercise, right? So this would actually help you to get that confidence as to how you can deal with some practical scenarios, right? So when you learn everything theoretically, so it would appear as if things are very easy. But when you start applying all these learned tools and techniques in a practical scenario, so that's when you would face the challenges that a normal black belt would actually face, and you can also learn how to overcome those challenges, right? So it's very important for you to kind of work on a project exercise. But then, as part of this training curriculum, it's not a mandatory thing. But if you happen to work on a project exercise, IMC will definitely reward you for your effort. So if you happen to successfully complete a Six Sigma project exercise and send the completed document to me, I will just go through it. And then in case of any modifications required, I would uh, request you to perform those modifications. And the finalized document will be forwarded by me to the IMC certifications team, and you will get an additional certificate for your project efforts, right? So this is a wonderful news, right? So anyway, once you clear the final assessments, you will be getting the green belt and the black belt certifications from IMC, right? So that is the basic thing that each one of you will get. But in case you work on a project exercise after the training sessions are over, so IMC will also provide you with the project completion certificate once you successfully complete a project and submit the document to us, right? So this is an additional bonus that you can actually make use of just to encourage, the participants to actually work on the project exercise. So IMC has come up with this brilliant initiative. So please do make full use of this. And as a trainer, I am willing to go out of the way. If any one of you is going to show interest in working on a project exercise, and if you want some mentoring assistance to be given, right? So you can always connect with me. So in fact, I won't be able to, provide guidance on a day-to-day basis, but at least, once a week or once in 10 days, we can always connect even after the training sessions are over, and we can discuss about your project. And I will definitely let you know as to how you can proceed on the project exercise. So more about this project exercise, we will have a separate briefing on the 10th day of this training session. So on the 10th day of this training session, just before you attempt the green belt final assessment, So I will give you a briefing about the entire project exercise, right? So there is a project initiation form which you need to fill in if you are interested to work on as a Six Sigma project exercise. But then this is not mandatory as per this, training session. But then if you are going to work on the project exercise, it's definitely going to benefit you in the sense you will be able to clearly understand how you can practically apply all these learned tools and techniques, right? So please do prepare yourself to work on a project exercise, and you're also going to get an additional certificate from IMC. So why to miss out on that additional certificate, which is going to be awarded to you free of cost, right? So you're not going to be charged any extra penny, correct? So it's going to come to you free of cost, and I am there to provide you with the guidance support when we are kind of motivating you to this extent. So it's only fair on your part, right, to actually work on this project exercise. So please do not miss out on this opportunity. Anyway, we will discuss about all these things on the 10th day of this training session. Then finally, let me also tell you that apart from the Excel formulas and the mini tabs that we are going to use for solving all these statistical exercises, we are also going to look at how to leverage, the AI tool. So we'll be using an AI tool called Perplexity, and I will show you how to leverage this AI tool, as part of our Six Sigma project exercise. So some of the critical concepts that we are going to learn, we will also see how to use the AI tool, how to leverage the AI tool, and then kind of get some valuable inputs. Right, so this is an additional thing. So I've been exploring how to integrate AI in Six Sigma. So this is the additional learning that you will get. So this is not something that IMC would have actually promised to you. This is just an additional learning that I am providing you as a trainer, right? So to the extent possible, see how we can make best use of the AI tool to kind of work on all these, Six Sigma concepts, and especially the statistical problems. You will see how to make use of the AI tool and then solve these statistical exercises. But then let me just throw a word of caution here. AI, of course, if you are using some advanced tools, you will definitely get the correct answer if you are going to provide the right prompt for a statistical problem. But then if you are going to use some basic tools, for solving some advanced statistical problems, then I've seen, the answers actually may not be correct, right? So you need to definitely use this AI tool as a complementary tool. In fact, all these AI tools needs to be used as a complementary tool. So we need to obviously use our natural intelligence to come up with the final decision. So AI can provide you with necessary hints, necessary clues. That's it, right? And some of the advanced statistical problems, if you are not able to solve, of course, we can make use of the advanced AI tool to help us solve the problem. But then, whatever output that we get from the AI tool, so we cannot accept it as it is. So we need to use our natural intelligence to actually verify and validate whether that output will be applicable for my scenario or not, right? So if you are going to ask AI to list down the causes impacting a particular business problem, so it will definitely come up with a list of causes, right? But whether those causes will be applicable for your scenario, right, that exists on the ground is something that you need to decide using your natural intelligence, correct? So instead of not able to actually make any kind of progress on a particular aspect, you can always take the support of a AI tool to get some clue, to get some hint, right? But that cannot be the final output. So you need to finalize using your natural intelligence. Just a word of caution about the usage of AI tool. So we'll also see how to use Perplexity, some of the critical aspects of our Six Sigma learning, right? So this is what I just wanted to let you all know before we actually venture into the subject, right? Any doubts, any clarifications with whatever I briefed you just now. Everything clear?
Yes.
Right. Fantastic. So in case of any doubt, you can always connect with me and then get it clarified. And one more important thing during the training sessions, in case you have some clarification, so you can always raise your hand and then I will give you time to ask the question. But then if you are going to pose your question through the chat box, so I will be able to look at it only during the free time, right? So it's always better that if you are able to raise your hand and then ask your question orally, right? So in case you're not able to kind of orally ask the question, you want to make use of the chat box, you can very well do so. But then since I'll be presenting my screen, I may not be able to look at the question that you would have posed in the chat box. So only during the free time I would be able to look at those questions, or during the break I'll be able to look at the questions. Right? So it's always better that you raise your hand and then ask the question. Then and there can get the clarification. Fine. So let me just share my screen. And as I told you, so I'm just going to, I'm going to show you the exercise file as well. So first I will show you the notes file. Hope you're all able to see my screen. So this is the notes file. So I have compiled the notes in a very simple English so that all of you would be able to understand these things very easily. So I also given the examples if you can go through the notes file. In fact, this is what I'm going to take you through this entire training session. So as I told you, we are going to start everything right from the scratch. So we are going to properly get introduced to all these quality concepts. So we have a separate phase called introduction phase. Then, as you know, there are 5 phases in Six Sigma initiative or Six Sigma project. So define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So there are set of quality and statistical tools under each of these 5 phases. So we are going to look at those concepts which are applicable for all these 5 phases, right? So I've compiled the notes separately for all these 5 phases in different sheets in this exercise file, in this Excel file. And apart from this, as I told you, I've also compiled the list of statistical exercises which we are going to solve as part of the training session, right? So these are the statistical exercises that I have compiled for you. So these are all from generic scenarios, which all of you would be able to understand easily. And as we go along, scroll towards the right-hand side, we see. So each and every statistical concept, right, I have provided the exercises in separate sheets, right? So this is the template I was talking about. So we will be solving all these statistical exercises using the calculation logic, applying a formula. But for some reason you find it difficult to understand the calculation logic, no problem at all. So I have given the templates, right? So all these templates can be made use of. You just need to understand how to input the values in these templates and how to interpret the answers that is going to appear in the output section, right? So as we keep working on these problems, you'll also understand how to make use of the template. So many statistical concepts we are going to see as part of this training session. So you're going to get some good learning, right? And finally, I've also given the template reference sheet, right? So this is provided at the end of the statistical exercises file. So both the files I'll be sharing it with you at the end of today's session. So the blank statistical exercises file also will come to you at the end of today's session, which you can keep it with you. So we will start working on those things, those statistical exercises, as I told you, from the 4th day onwards. So this template reference sheet will give you an idea as to which template you are supposed to use for a given scenario. So in the assessment, right? So for a particular statistical problem, so you are wondering which template you need to use. You can always, come to this particular template reference sheet in the exercises file and then kind of look at which template you are supposed to use for solving a statistical exercise, right? So many statistical concepts you are going to see. Of course, we are going to make use of the Minitab software also. So even if you do not, or even if you're not able to download the Minitab software, as I told you, it's absolutely fine. Just learn how to navigate through the Minitab and then solve all these statistical exercises. So today you may not be having the Minitab software, but tomorrow, if you happen to get access to this Minitab software, you should be knowing how to solve these statistical problems using that software. It's a user-friendly software. So you can also, even if you are not able to download the trial version, so you can probably look at how we can navigate in Minitab and then solve all these statistical exercises. Just learn how to use Minitab. So that is enough for the time being. So tomorrow, when you get access to that software, you will be able to handle that much better. So it will not be a new software for you. So from that perspective, learning how to navigate through Minitab software will definitely help you in the future. And anyway, we are going to use the Excel and the manual formula wherever applicable to solve these statistical exercises. And we will validate the answers with the Minitab output. And I will also show you how to input the values in our template and then get the answers. So we are going to work out a particular statistical problem through multiple ways, right? So that you get oriented on the different procedures that we are going to follow to work out a particular statistical problem, right? So with this, let us get started. As I told you, this is batch number 557, right? So we will start with definition of quality. So before that, I just wanted to understand as to what do you think about quality? So what, according to you, is quality? So what is quality as per your perception? Yes, please. So kindly unmute and then give your opinion. What do you think is quality?
How well we are doing at the process.
Quality is about how well we are executing the process. Very good.
The
So if you are
effectiveness of the process.
quality is the effectiveness of the process. So once the process is well executed, so the output or the quality output will get generated automatically. Very good thought. Yes, please. Any other opinion, perception about what is quality? Nothing is called the incorrect answer, by the way, right? We are all learning. So including me, I can also learn few examples from your side, right? So we are all learning. So nothing is called incorrect. So please do not hesitate to contribute. So even when I'm going to ask questions, please do, come forward and provide the answer. So even if it is incorrect, it's absolutely fine. No one is going to make fun or no one is going to be judgmental about you, right? So please do not hesitate to provide an answer. Yes, please.
Yeah, it would be error-free product or service.
Quality is about producing error-free output. Yes, good. Any other thought?
The degree of excellence, how a product or service meets its customers' expectations and its intended purpose.
Very good. Quality is degree of excellence aimed at customer satisfaction. This customer satisfaction is very, very important, right? So even if the customer wants a 95% accuracy, if you are able to, produce outputs with 95% accuracy with 5% defects, it's absolutely fine. You're said to have produced something of high order quality. It's as simple as that. Any other thought?
Quality is just using the correct path or correct part and with the proper documents so that the work can be done properly.
Yeah. Quality is about adhering to the correct procedure as laid down in the process document.
Yes.
Then only you can get standardization, right? How will you get a standard output? Only if you are going to follow the procedure as detailed in the process document, which is very, very important. Very good.
how consistently we do things to achieve our target.
Very good. Quality is about maintaining consistency. So it is not as if, you are able to produce some quality output today and tomorrow you can always go back to your square one scenario, right? Wherein you cannot just like that, produce some inferior quality output. So quality is all about maintaining consistency. So once you have reached that improved levels of performance, so how to maintain consistency? That is very, very important. In fact, Six Sigma talks excessively about maintaining consistency, as you will learn in due course of time. So quality is about maintaining consistency in the good performance. Very good.
The requirement,
Pardon?
aligning with the requirement.
Yeah, so quality is about aligning with the customer requirement. Only the customer will be satisfied, right? Lot of good pointers about quality. All these pointers are quite valid, and these are all, reflect what exactly is quality, right? So we are just giving our own opinion about what is quality, because quality is an abstract term, as you all know. So each one of us can have our own opinion or perception about what we think is a quality output, right? So many thoughts about what is quality, which is fantastic. And as I told you, each one of them is quite valid as well. But then there is a standard definition for quality. So you'll understand, what is the standard definition, and also try to dissect this definition of quality. So quality, as it is stated here, is defined as the totality of all characteristics that on its own ability is able to meet the stated and the implied needs of the customer, right? It says totality of all characteristics. When I say all characteristics, so it could be length of a product, or it could be any measurement dimensions concerned with the product output, or it could be some service quality characteristics, right? Say, for example, if it is a call center, whether the call center executive greeted the customer, right? Once the call is received by the call center executive, whether the call center executive greeted the customer first before even, starting the call. So this is an important quality characteristic. So when we actually look at all the characteristics, the totality of all the characteristics means it could be a measurement dimension characteristic when we talk about a product output, or when we talk about a service output, it could be a quality characteristic like greeting a customer, right? Or, understanding the customer problem with empathy. So all these are quality characteristics. So the totality of all these characteristics, we should be able to meet the stated and the implied needs of the customer, right? So it all starts with the customer requirement, right? If you look at any quality definition or any process improvement initiative that we are going to see, it will always start with the understanding of our customer requirement. As I told you, the quality definitions also fully focus on satisfying our customer. So when can you, say that you have produced something of high order quality? As I told you, only when we are able to meet the expectations set by the customer. Only when we are able to meet the requirements stated by the customer, right? So the stated and implied needs of the customer. Stated needs is very easy for us to understand, right? So stated needs, as we can see here, these are very, very easy for us to understand, because the customer would be explicitly mentioning about all these stated needs in the form of a contract or agreement. Or he can also, probably engage in a oral conversation with the manufacturer or the service provider, and then express, these are my stated needs. Say, for example, the customer, say, has ordered for 100 units of pen. So the customer can say that all these pens should be of 10 centimeters in length. It should have 2 centimeters as diameter. It should be a ball pen. It should be blue ink. So all these specifications can be stated by the customer. So these are the stated needs explicitly mentioned by the customer. So even if you are going to order for certain things, right, you can explicitly mention some of the features that you would want in that product, which could be the stated needs expressed by the customer. So it's very easy for the manufacturer also to understand what the customer is expecting from them, right? So when the customer is going to state these things very clearly, the manufacturer also will be able to clearly understand what the customer is actually expecting from them. But then there is something called implied need, which is slightly tricky. As the word itself suggests, what is meant by implied? Implied means something that is hidden, right? So implied means something that is hidden. So what are these hidden needs? So these are the needs which need not be explicitly mentioned by the customer. So these are the needs which need not be explicitly mentioned by the customer, but the manufacturer will have to understand that these are the implied needs that the customer will be expecting with regard to that product or the service output. And without the customer even asking for it, the manufacturer or the service provider will have to provide this implied need to the customer. Very, very, very important. And what could be the implied need? Implied needs are nothing but the basic functionality of a product or a service. That is the implied need. So as a manufacturer, I should know what is the basic functionality of the product that I am manufacturing. As a service provider, I should know what is the basic functionality of the service that I am providing to my customer. So the customer need not explicitly mention this to the manufacturer or the service provider. So without the customer even asking for it, the manufacturer or the service provider will have to provide this implied need. So in case of pen, what would be the implied need? It will be as simple as pen should write. That's it, right? So as a customer, you need not go and tell the manufacturer that whatever pens you are manufacturing should write. So this is an implied need. The manufacturer should understand what for the customer is buying this product, because the customer is going to write with this product. So when that is the case, the pen should write is an implied need. Just because the customer has not explicitly stated this to the manufacturer cannot take an excuse saying you only ordered for 100 units of pen with 10 centimeters in length, 2 centimeters in diameter. It's a ball pen, it's blue ink. So whatever specifications you mentioned, I have actually fulfilled all those specifications, all those requirements. So you did not state that the pen should write. So customer, as a manufacturer, I cannot take an excuse saying that the customer did not explicitly mention about this implied need. As a manufacturer, I should know what is the basic functionality of the product that I have actually manufactured. So the customer, without even asking for it, we should be able to provide the same to the customer, right? So imagine a scenario where the pens manufactured by a manufacturer is going to meet all the customer's stated requirements. So it is 10 centimeters in length, 2 centimeters in diameter, it is a ball pen, it is blue ink, etc., etc. But if the pen is not going to write, what will be the mood of the customer? As a customer, what you would feel? You will definitely not feel happy that all is stated. Extremely frustrated and disappointed with that manufacturer, right? Because the implied need has not been met, because you have not bought this pen to keep it as a showpiece item, correct? So you bought the pen to write with it. So that being the case, if the pen is not going to write, then you will be highly frustrated as a customer, right? So this implied need part is very, very important. So there is no harm in customer, explicitly mentioning about this implied need, but there is no requirement for the customer to actually state this implied need. So without even the customer asking for it, it is the duty of the manufacturer or service provider to provide this implied need. Yet another example. So we all buy mobile phones, right? So what is the implied need of a mobile phone? So what is the implied need? What is the basic functionality that you would expect from a mobile phone? As a customer, you can always check whether the mobile phone has got, so and so feature in it, right? So you can check all those latest features, whether they are available in a particular mobile phone. But what is the basic functionality of that mobile phone which you will take it for granted as a customer? What is the
It should
implied need?
dial. It should dial the number.
That is, you should be able to receive or make calls using that mobile phone, correct? So that is the basic functionality of a mobile phone. Suppose you have bought a mobile phone with all the expected features in that embedded in that phone, and you are very, very happy as a customer. But after reaching home, you find that you are not able to make or receive calls using that mobile phone. What will be your mood as a customer? Will you feel happy that all the expected features are very much available in that mobile phone, right? You'll be highly frustrated and dissatisfied with that mobile phone brand manufacturer, correct? So you'll not be happy about that phone brand, correct? So you'll be highly dissatisfied or highly frustrated as a customer because you are not able to make or receive calls using that mobile phone because that is the basic functionality. At the same time, you would not have checked with the shopkeeper. When you buy a mobile phone, will you go and ask the shopkeeper whether you'll be able to make or receive calls using this? That is taken for granted, right? So there is no need for you to, in fact, the shopkeeper will laugh at you if you are going to ask this question because this is the basic functionality of that product. So that being the case, you don't even need to check with the shopkeeper or the manufacturer as to whether you will be able to make or receive calls using this mobile phone. In case you are not able to make or receive calls using a particular mobile brand, you will be highly dissatisfied as a customer, even though all your stated needs would have been met by the manufacturer. So this is the most important thing that each and every manufacturer and the service provider should actually realize when they manufacture or provide a service to their customers, right? The implied need part is going to be very, very important. Now, if you look at the traditional definition of quality, it focuses only on the customer. So it says that if you are able to meet the stated and the implied needs of the customer, it's more than sufficient. It means you have produced something of high order quality. As I told you, if the customer wants you to deliver the output with 95% accuracy, and if you are able to meet that as a service provider, that means you have delivered something of a high order quality, as simple as that, right? So nothing is thought beyond your customer. So if you are able to fulfill the customer expectations, that means you have delivered something of high order quality. Now let us, look at a particular scenario here. So let us consider that a customer requires some 100 error-free units. So let us not worry about the product here. It can be any product. It can even be a transaction, right? If you are working in a service process, it can even be a transaction. So customer requires some 100 error-free units. So what is that you will do internally as a service provider or manufacturer to ensure that the customer gets all these 100 units error-free? You will deploy quality inspection, right? So you will deploy quality inspection at the output stage of the process. So a team of quality inspectors will check each and every unit that is processed and will find out if there is any error or defect. If they identify any error or defect, it will be corrected or reworked, and then the error-free output will be delivered to the customer. So if it is totally error-free, it can be straight away delivered to the customer. Even if it contains an error, so it will be corrected or reworked, right, by the service provider or the manufacturer, and then it would be delivered to the customer, right? So let us assume a scenario wherein after the inspection was done, it was observed some 50 out of 100 units were totally error-free. So as I told you, all these error-free units will be straight away delivered to the customer. But the balance 50 units, contain some error, contain some defect, right? So what we will do, so as a service provider or manufacturer, we will rework on those items. So the quality inspection team has identified that these are the units that contain some defects or errors. So as a operations team, right, we will definitely rework on them. We will correct those errors before the output is delivered to the customer. Now, if you look at it from a customer perspective, a customer is going to get all error-free output, right? Customer will not even know whether a particular unit was reworked or corrected because it contains some defect, right? So as far as the customer is concerned, customer is going to get all error-free output, right? So but what happens to the service provider or the manufacturer? So all these rework or corrections that are carried out, please remember, it doesn't come free of cost. All these rework or corrections that we carry out doesn't come free of cost. We may not be, measuring, what is the cost associated with that rework or correction, or we may not be accounting that separately in our accounts book, right? By the finance team or whatever. But we need to understand that whatever rework or correction that the team performs carries some cost. That is definite because you spend some time in performing the rework or correction. So whenever you spend some time, that time can always be equated in terms of cost, right? It can be equated in terms of some dollar value. And that cost is what we would call as cost of poor quality, COPQ. It's very, very important, right? But the strange part of it is most of the organizations, they don't even measure this separately. So they will think that each and every penny that they have actually spent, each and every dollar they have actually spent is quite legitimate, right? The spending is quite legitimate and the cost incurred is also quite legitimate. And they would not even bother about what is the portion of cost of poor quality in that overall cost, right? So what is the portion of or what is the quantum of cost of poor quality in that overall cost element? So everything will, go into that overall cost. So cost of poor quality is something that people may not be measuring separately. So they may not be aware of what is the quantum of this cost of poor quality, right? So you can even relate this to your own organization scenario. So if they are measuring, it's absolutely fine. If they are not measuring, we will not be even aware of what is the quantum of this cost of poor quality, right? How big the cost of poor quality is. We might be performing lot of corrections, lot of rework, but we will not know what is the cost associated with that correction or rework because we simply do not measure this cost of poor quality. So this cost of poor quality is like a hidden iceberg, right? So this is an iceberg mountain which is hidden underneath the sea, right? So for someone who is going to look at this iceberg mountain from the seashore, right? The person will be able to look at only the tip of the iceberg. So the person looking at from a distance will think that there's a small piece of ice, floating on the surface of the water, right? There's a small piece of ice floating on the surface of the water. Only when this person is going to come to this iceberg mountain, the person will be able to appreciate that it is not a small piece of ice. It is a huge iceberg mountain which is hidden underneath the sea. Similarly, cost of poor quality, if we are not measuring it, we will always tend to think that it is a negligible quantum. It is not a huge quantum, it's a very, very small quantum. Only when we start measuring it, we will be surprised to note that cost of poor quality is not a small quantum, it is a huge quantum, right? And this cost of poor quality will definitely have a huge impact on the profitability of the organization, right? So when there is cost of poor quality, obviously there has to be cost of good quality as well. So what is the cost of good quality as we can understand from this? Cost of good quality is nothing but the cost that we would incur for setting up the operations, for running the operations in an efficient manner. So if you want to produce the output as required by the customer, so this output cannot be produced out of thin air. So you need a process, you need some basic infrastructure to execute that process, you need some space, you need machineries, you need computer systems. If you're working in a service industry, you need manpower to execute all these things, right? So these are all the minimal requirement that you need to have in place in order to deliver the output as required by the customer. That being the case, so you definitely need to incur some cost. So this is what we would call as investment to set up the basic infrastructure to run the operations in an efficient and effective manner. So the cost that is incurred for making that basic investment required for running the operations effectively and efficiently is what we would call as cost of good quality. So there is a big difference between these two, right? So while cost of poor quality is the cost we would incur for covering up the process inefficiency or due to the process inefficiencies, whereas cost of good quality is about increasing the process efficiencies. So we incur cost of good quality to improve or to take the process efficiency to the next higher level, right? So cost of poor quality is the cost that one would incur due to process inefficiencies, whereas cost of good quality is the cost we would incur for improving the process efficiencies. So this is the basic difference between cost of poor quality and cost of good quality, right? So we need to decide if you are incurring a cost under which category this cost would actually fall. So if you are incurring that cost due to some process inefficiencies, like the cost incurred for a rework or for a correction, or even that warranty cost, right? So whenever a product is sold, it will have some fixed warranty. Say 1 year warranty is given. And within that 1 year, if that product develops some issue, so the customer can get it repaired free of cost by the manufacturer. So it is free of cost for the customer, not for the manufacturer, right? So the manufacturer, while performing that repair work, will definitely incur some cost. And that cost also will be accounted under cost of poor quality. So the rework cost, the warranty cost, loss of sales due to poor quality output, all these would be coming under cost of poor quality. But then any cost that you would incur for performing the process improvements, you are trying to improve the process efficiency to the next higher level, cost of good quality. You are trying to implement some preventive action to mitigate a risk identified in the process or in the operations. Cost of good quality, because you are taking a proactive measure to prevent a damage from happening. Cost of good quality, right? So all those which you would incur for improving the process efficiencies will be accounted under cost of good quality. So we need to know how to differentiate between cost of poor quality and cost of good quality. Then only you'll be able to apply all these, Six Sigma tools and techniques in a efficient manner, right? So as I said, any cost will have a direct impact on the profit margin of an organization, more so if it is cost of poor quality. So profit can be impacted either due to the revenue or either due to the revenue gain or revenue loss or due to the cost enhancement or cost reduction, right? So revenue and cost are the two elements that will have a direct impact on the profit. So you can improve the profit margin either by increasing the revenue or by reducing the cost. So that is why profit is calculated using this formula, revenue minus cost. So you will be able to improve the profit margin either by increasing the revenue or by reducing the cost. So how you will be able to increase the revenue part? So you can do so by getting some new business opportunities. So when new customers want you to provide service or buy product from you, then you will be able to increase the revenue. Or if you're able to increase the price for your product or service, right, then also you'll be able to increase the revenue. So revenue can be enhanced through two sources. What are the two sources here? Either you can get some new business and enhance the revenue, or you can simply increase the price for your product or service and enhance the revenue, right? But then new business is not going to flow in and day out. So that is ruled out in a competitive market. Again, in a competitive market, you cannot just like that increase the price for your product or service, because in fact the customer would be expecting you to provide a discount after the 1 year period. So they would have stated this very clearly in the contract itself. So I'm agreeing for the current price, the first year only, for the first year only. The second year onwards, you should give me some 10% discount on the current price amount. So that being the case, enhancing the revenue by implementing a price rise cannot be or is not feasible at all. So that is totally ruled out. So enhancing revenue is not going to be very easy in a competitive environment. So if you are going to increase the price for your product or service, the customer will definitely look out for some other service provider or manufacturer who would be selling their service or the product output at a price lesser than what you are currently quoting, right? So in a competitive market, that is the advantage that people will have. So they can always switch over to some other, manufacturer or service provider. So that being the case, as I told you, revenue enhancement cannot happen just like that in a competitive environment. So what is the other option? Reduction of cost. When you look at cost, it is of two categories as we just now discussed, cost of poor quality and cost of good quality. Cost of good quality is something that you cannot compromise because this cost is very much required for us to run the operations in a effective or efficient manner. So you cannot compromise on cost of good quality. Otherwise, your regular operations will get impacted. What is the only other option that is left to you? Reducing this cost of poor quality. So only by reducing this cost of poor quality, we will be able to improve the profit margin or at least maintain the same levels of profit even when the price for your product is falling down. So as I told you, the customer would be expecting you to provide a discount, right? The subsequent years. So that being the case, the price is likely to fall down. The price is going to fall down without any additional business. Your revenue is also going to fall down, and that will have an impact on the profit margin. So how to ensure that we are able to retain the same levels of profit even when the prices are falling down for your product or service? Only by reducing this cost of poor quality. Now you can very well understand the importance of segregating the cost as cost of poor quality and cost of good quality so that we will be able to clearly understand the sources contributing to the cost of poor quality, and we will be able to attack the sources in order to minimize this cost of poor quality, right? So in order to enhance the profit margins, as I told you, we need to either increase the revenue or reduce the cost. But increasing the revenue is not going to be easy in a competitive environment, as we just now discussed. So even the cost, if you see, the cost of good quality is something that cannot be compromised at all. So the only other option that is left to us is to measure and reduce the cost of poor quality in order to enhance the profit margin or at least retain the same levels of profit even when the prices are falling down. So this is why we have this modern day definition of quality, right? First, we looked at the traditional definition of quality, wherein we focused only on the customer's requirements, right? So we have the modern day definition of quality because we can incur huge cost of poor quality and still satisfy the customer. So like in this scenario, so 50 out of 100 units were defective means what? So 50% of the production was not conforming to the customer specifications or customer requirements. So we faced with huge cost of poor quality, right? When we perform the rework or correction. So that being the case, it is going to impact the profit margin for the manufacturer or the service provider. So what is the point in fulfilling the customer expectations when we are not able to make profit for ourselves, right? So there is absolutely no point in running the business. So when we start incurring losses, we might have to shut down the business. There's no point. See, we all kind of, try to satisfy the customer in order to enhance our business, in order to enhance our profit margins, to sustain in that business, right? So there is no point in continuing to incur losses, but still, satisfying the customers' requirements or customers' specifications. So that is not going to really help us in the long run. So that is why we have this modern day definition of quality, which says pretty much the same thing as the traditional definition, but with an additional phrase at the end of the sentence. So quality is defined as the totality of all characteristics that on its own ability is able to meet the stated and the implied needs of the customer at an optimal cost. This is very, very important. So there is no point in meeting the customer requirements at a huge cost, incurring a huge cost of poor quality, right? So we need to look at meeting the customer requirement or customer specification at an optimal cost. This is very, very, very important, right? So we do not say it's zero cost because that is practically not possible because as I told you, cost of good quality is inevitable to run the operation. So that is why it has been mentioned as optimal cost. Optimal cost means we need to minimize this cost of poor quality to the extent possible. So that is the modern day definition of quality. So we cannot just feel happy that we have produced something of high order quality merely by satisfying our customer. The customer may be happy, but what is happening to you as a service provider or manufacturer? Your profit margin is getting dwindled. Over a period of time, you will start incurring losses and you may not be able to sustain in this business. Then what is the point in satisfying your customer? So we should be obviously able to satisfy our customer. There is no second thought about this, but we should be able to do so at an optimal cost. That is very, very important. Then only I can say that I have produced and delivered something of high order quality. Clear about the traditional definition and modern day definition of quality. So while the traditional definition of quality focuses only on the customer's interest, because we don't even talk about the cost element, right? In the traditional definition of quality, we are only talking about satisfying the customer's stated and implied needs. That's it. It's the modern day definition of quality that focuses on both the customer as well as the service provider or the manufacturer's interest, right? So this is the difference between the traditional and the modern day definition of quality. But then we also need to understand that quality has got multiple dimensions. So many of us may think that quality is nothing but the accuracy of the output. But accuracy is only part of the overall quality, is one of the dimension of the overall quality. So if you are going to represent the overall quality by capital Q, then what could be the various dimensions of this overall quality? So the overall quality, the dimensions could be the price of the product or service denoted by small p, the cost of operations denoted by small c, the timely delivery of the product or service denoted by small d, and of course, the accuracy of the product or service. Some people will call this as quality, right? So it is denoted by small q. So small q is part of the capital Q. We need to understand that. So small q is not the only quality aspect, right? It's one of the quality dimension. And of course, we have morale and safety of the workforce, small m and small s, right? So if you look at all these quality dimensions, they are all pretty much interlinked. How I'm saying that they are interlinked? So safety of the workforce is something that is much more relevant to a manufacturing scenario where the workforce will be dealing with some complex machineries, right? So the workforce will be dealing with some complex machineries. So the safety aspects are much more relevant for a manufacturing scenario. But then if the management of a manufacturing organization is going to take care of the safety aspects of its workforce, then what will be the morale of that workforce? The morale of the workforce will be very much high. So morale is nothing but the measurement of how much motivated the workforce is, right? They should feel happy performing their job, right? So that would be reflected in the morale of the workforce. So how happy they are doing the current job. So they will feel extremely happy and motivated only when their safety aspects are taken care of. So safety of the workforce is taken care of the morale of the workforce is bound to be pretty high. If the morale of the workforce is very high, then the workforce will start producing output with nil defect and will also be able to deliver that output to the customer within the agreed timeline. So the quality aspect, the accuracy aspect, and the timely delivery can be obtained or can be accomplished if the workforce morale is going to be very high, right? And if you are going to achieve higher levels of accuracy and if you are going to achieve higher adherence of the timely delivery to the customer, then we will be able to reduce the cost of operation, right? So you will be able to, if you are going to improve the accuracy, obviously you'll be able to reduce the cost of operations because cost of poor quality is bound to come down. So when we reduce the cost of operations, we will be able to quote a competitive price for our product or service, right? So as I told you, all these dimensions that I have stated for overall quality, they are pretty much interlinked, right? And you can also add some of the recent phenomena like the environmental aspects, right? Some people would think that environmental aspects that the manufacturing organization is supposed to adhere can also be included as part of the quality dimensions, right? Because you need to produce the output without affecting the society, right? So the environmental aspects have to be taken care of, especially in a manufacturing scenario. Whenever we produce an output, obviously there could be some loss imparted to the society through these environmental hazards. There could be a noise pollution, there could be a water pollution, there could be air pollution, right? So these environmental aspects also need to be ensured that they are kind of kept at a minimal quantum so that it doesn't affect the society at large. So that is very, very, very important, right? So the environmental aspects can also be added to the existing list of dimensions. As I told you, it's very, very flexible. So whatever you feel can be added as a dimension of quality, you are free to add those dimensions as well. So the recent phenomena, environmental aspect can be added as one of the dimension of the overall quality. So if you are able to produce an output with very little negative impact to the society through minimizing these environmental hazards, then you are said to have produced something of high order quality, right? So these are the various dimensions of the overall quality. So now that we have discussed about the dimensions of overall quality, so it's time for us to discuss about the evolution of quality as such. So even though it is not written here, it's a small story, how quality has evolved over a period of time. So it all started way back in the mid 19th century, somewhere around 1850s, right? When we used to have a monopoly market. So what do you mean by monopoly market? That means there will be only one manufacturer selling a product item. So the customer will not have any option but to buy that product item only from that manufacturer. So this being the case, obviously the manufacturer will not focus on producing quality output, right? So quality as a practice was not even thought of by the manufacturers during this monopoly period. But over a period of time, towards the end of the 19th century, competition started growing in the market for a particular product. So there were multiple manufacturers producing the same product, just like how we have the scenario currently. So we have plenty of manufacturers, producing a particular product item. So this is what we would call as different brands that exist for a particular product. So when we have multiple manufacturers producing the product item, then the customers obviously will have an option, right, to choose the product manufactured by a particular manufacturer. And how they will choose? Obviously, they will look at the quality of the product. So quality became a key differentiator for the business, right? So the manufacturers also started realizing this, So the customer would definitely look out for quality output. So if they are not going to produce quality output, then they may not even exist in the market for a long time. So with this realization, the manufacturers started deploying quality inspection as the first quality practice at the output stage of the process. So each and every output produced by the process will be subjected to quality inspection. So the quality inspectors will check whether the output contains any defect or not. So the output contains some defect, it will be subjected to rework or correction. And the error-free output will be sent to the market for the onward sale to the customer, right? So quality inspection is the first quality practice deployed by the manufacturers towards the end of the 19th century due to a competitive market scenario. So it transitioned from a seller's market to a buyer's market. So when there was a monopoly system where there was only one manufacturer selling a product item, it was a seller's market. So the buyers did not have any choice but to accept whatever the sellers actually sold to them. But when competition started growing in the market space and when multiple manufacturers started emerging producing the same product, the customers started to have some option. Then it became a buyer's market, right? So the customers started dictating terms to the manufacturers, right? So manufacturers were forced to have the first quality practice like quality inspection deployed at the output stage of the process. But very soon, the manufacturers started realizing that it is not the process inefficiency that has a negative impact on the product quality. It is also the input quality that has an impact on the product quality. Say, let me give you a simple example. So let us take coffee preparation, which all of you I hope will be able to clearly understand. So coffee preparation, let us assume that coffee is prepared by a well-known chef following a highly efficient process. But then if one of the key ingredient that you will use as an input for producing a coffee, like milk, has gone stale, has become spoiled, and the chef or the person who is preparing the coffee is going to anyway follow some highly efficient process, will the output taste of the coffee will be good? Will it be good? Definitely not, right? Because irrespective of the process efficiencies, if the input quality is not all that good, it is going to reflect in the quality of the output delivered by that process, right? So input quality being bad, the same will be reflecting in the output quality as well, irrespective of the process efficiency, right? So here we cannot blame the process efficiency for the bad quality output. We need to look at the quality of the input. So the manufacturers also started realizing this, and that is why they started to deploy quality inspection at the input stage of the process. So they started inspecting the raw materials supplied by their vendors, and only those raw materials which fulfill their requirements are fed or will be fed into the process, and those raw materials which are defective will be sent back to the supplier, right? So quality inspection was carried out even at the input stage of the process because input quality can have a direct impact on the output quality. The manufacturers also started realizing this and they deployed this quality inspection at the input stage of the process as well. But during the beginning of the 20th century, just before the Second World War, which happened during the mid part of the 20th century, so it was Walter Shewart who was working in US Army. So Walter Shewart is a quality expert from US. So he was working in US Army. At that time, he invented a tool called control chart. So we are going to look at this tool as part of our control phase discussion, right? But for now, understand that Walter Shewart is the quality expert who actually invented this tool called control chart. So what is the objective of this particular tool called control chart? So as I told you, we have already addressed the input quality issue. Now coming to the process parameters. So we need to ensure that the process parameters are maintained at specific levels for us to get a good quality output. So as you all said, executing the process in an appropriate manner will ensure that the process produces quality output. That becomes automatic, right? So it's all about executing the process in an appropriate manner, in an efficient manner, right? So similarly, if you want good quality coffee, then we need to ensure that certain process parameters are kept at a predefined levels. Say you need to have a particular description about at what temperature the coffee should be heated in order to get that unique taste. So how much quantity of milk needs to be added? How much quantity of coffee powder needs to be added? So all these things you will have specifications clearly mentioned in your process document, right? So you must be wondering, the certain restaurant outlets will actually provide some excellent coffee. It will be unique in taste, right? So that particular restaurant will be famous for a certain dish. Say that restaurant is famous for its coffee. So it is very, very unique in taste. So this kind of coffee you won't get in any other restaurant. So how come these restaurant outlets alone are able to produce a coffee with this unique taste? Because they might be following some formula, right, while preparing the coffee. Irrespective of whoever is preparing that coffee, if that person is going to follow that success formula, then the coffee that the person produces is going to have that unique taste. But how to maintain the levels for all these process parameters, as I just mentioned? So how to ensure that the temperature is maintained at this level? How to ensure that the coffee powder that is added is maintained at this level? So we need to use this control chart. So control chart will help us to ensure that the process parameters that are that has an impact on the quality of the output are maintained at a predefined levels, right? So this control chart started to focus on the process related parameters. First, we looked at the input, and then we are looking at the process part of it. Then towards the later half of the 20th century, right? So during the Second World War, we all know what happened to Japan, because Japan played a major role in quality evolution after the Second World War. So before the Second World War, you must be surprised to note that Japanese products were known for inferior quality, right? It's hard to believe, right, in the current days context, but this was a fact. So before the Second World War, which happened sometime, during the later part of the 1940s, Japan was known for producing inferior quality goods and services, right? And during the Second World War, we all know what happened to Japan. So the Japanese islands of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were completely bombed by the US troops. And after the Second World War, US took pity on Japan, because Japan, because of producing inferior quality goods and services, they were very weak in economy. And after the Second World War, they were completely devastated as a nation. But after the Second World War, US took pity on Japan and they wanted to help Japan resurrect its economy. And US, being a pioneer in quality movement, firmly believed that quality as a practice alone can help a nation to resurrect its economy. So obviously US, wanted Walter Stewart, was anyway working in US Army, to travel to Japan and help them to resurrect the economy. But Walter Stewart, for some reason, declined that offer. So the offer was made to his deputy by name Edward Deming. So all these names are very, very important for us to remember as a black belt. Edward Deming. So Edward Deming was Walter Stewart's deputy. So the offer was obviously made to him. So Edward Deming traveled all the way to Japan during the early part of 1950s And he started conducting series of quality training programs to the Japanese workforce. The only condition that he actually put forth before commencing his, training programs was that he insisted that the Japanese leadership should be part of his training program first, and then the Japanese workforce can be trained. Right? Why? Because Deming firmly believed that quality is a top-down approach, not a bottom-up approach. So, what do you mean by top-down approach? So, quality has to percolate from the top, from the leadership level. Only if your leadership is convinced that practicing quality will bring some positive prospects to the organization fortunes, the leadership will be motivated to practice quality. But if the leadership believes that quality cannot bring that positive change, then quality as a practice cannot thrive in that organization, right? So, only if your organization leadership firmly believes that Six Sigma can make a difference by improving the process efficiencies, they will even motivate people to work on Six Sigma projects, right? But if the leadership doesn't believe that Six Sigma can, make that big difference, then obviously they're not going to encourage practicing Six Sigma in that organization. So Deming also understood this, right? So this is what we would call as the top-down approach, because the quality as a practice needs to percolate from the leadership level. Then only, people down below will start practicing quality. The leadership itself is not interested, then people down below also will not be all that motivated to practice quality, right? So this is the top-down approach that Deming was actually thinking. So he insisted that the Japanese industry leadership are part of his training program first, and then the workforce can join later. So he conducted series of training programs during the 1950s, and after that, Japan actually picked up as a nation. So they not only improved their economy, but the Japanese quality experts started contributing to quality domain. So many Japanese quality experts have come up with some new concepts and they have contributed to the quality domain. So a couple of examples, we are going to see that Kano model as part of the defined phase. It's invented by Noriaki Kano, the Japanese quality expert. Again, the cause and effect diagram, which we are going to see as part of analyze phase, is invented by Kaoru Ishikawa, right? Is again a Japanese quality expert. Jenichi Taguchi is the one who actually came up with the application opportunities for a very advanced concept called design of experiment, which we are going to learn as part of the improve phase. So this is the black belt specific curriculum. We are going to learn about DOE on the final day of this training session, right? So these are some of the, quality experts from Japan, who actually contributed to the quality domain. And towards the later half of the 20th century is when we also got introduced to some of the key process improvement methodologies. So a couple of process improvement methodologies like Kaizen and Lean originated from Japan. Kaizen and Lean, a couple of process improvement methodologies which actually originated from Japan. And Six Sigma was introduced by Motorola towards the end of the 20th century. And General Electric is a company which started practicing Six Sigma quite extensively, and they also reaped very good financial benefits through that. And from 2000 onwards, we find almost all the organizations across the globe, practicing this concept called Six Sigma. So now we are talking about process improvements. Now we are talking about design thinking. Now we are talking about integrating AI in all these quality practices, right? So this is how quality has evolved over a period of time. So small story about the evolvement of quality, right? So we will go for a 15-minute break now. So when we come back, we look at some of the important quality terminologies which we need to know as a black belt, right? So we look at some of the important quality terminologies which we need to know as a black belt. So that will be after a 15-minute break. So you need not actually exit. So you can just put yourself on mute and you can enjoy the 15-minute break and come back and join. Okay. Hello, friends. I'm back. Hope you're all back as well. So let us continue with our discussions. Let me once again share my screen. Right. So we looked at the traditional definition of quality, the modern day definition of quality, and during the course of understanding the modern day definition of quality, we also looked at the cost of poor quality and how it would impact the profit margin of an organization in a negative way. And we also looked at the various dimensions of the overall quality. And we also understood about how quality evolved over a period of time. Now let us look at some of the important quality terminologies. The first set of quality terminologies that we are going to learn are quality control and quality assurance, QC and QA. So even though these terminologies are being used interchangeably, right, in many organizations, so it's important for us to understand what exactly is meant by QC set of activities and what are our QA set of activities. So quality control or QC are the set of activities that will be practiced at the output stage of a process. So why do we practice this quality control set of activities? So this is done in order to validate whether the output meets the customer specifications or not. So why do we practice quality control set of activities? Because we would want to validate whether the output meets the customer specifications or not. So if it doesn't meet, then what is that we are going to do? We will be performing rework or correction, right? So if it meets the customer specifications, then the output will be delivered to the customer. If it doesn't meet, then we are going to perform rework or correction, and then the output will be delivered to the customer. So quality control set of activities, as we can see, are pretty much reactive in nature because these activities cannot really help us to prevent any error happening in the output. So these activities will only help us to detect if there is any defect present in the output. So hence, quality control set of activities will be treated as a reactive set of activities, right? So quality inspection that we do at the output stage of the process is a quality control activity. So quality inspection that we do at the output stage of a process is a quality control activity. So when we perform this quality inspection, it's not as if, we are looking at preventing any defect from happening in the output. So what is that we are trying to look at when we perform the quality inspection activity? We are trying to identify the presence of any defect, right, in the output that is delivered by the process so that we will be able to perform necessary correction or rework if at all it is a defective output. So when you would call something as a defect, only when a certain feature is not aligning with the customer expectation. So when the output characteristic is not aligning with the customer requirement, then we would call that as a defect, right? So here, when we practice quality inspection, so we would only be able to identify whether the output adheres to the customer requirements or not. So if it doesn't, then in that case, we can only perform rework or correction, and hence this will be treated as a reactive activity. Whereas quality assurance, as it is written here, the set of activities that we would practice during the input and the processing stage of a process. So if we want to improve the process efficiency by performing process improvement initiatives, then that will be a quality assurance type of an activity. Or if you want to inspect the raw materials supplied by the suppliers so that quality raw materials are fed into the process, that will become a quality assurance type of an activity. So why do we perform quality assurance set of activities? Because we want to assure that this process will not produce any defective output. So when we are giving an assurance that this process will not produce any defective output, obviously, when can we give that assurance? Only when we have a robust process in place, right? Or when we have quality inputs being fed into the process. Only then I can give an assurance that this process will not produce any defective output. So when you work on improving the process efficiencies, when you work on improving the quality of the raw materials that are fed into the process, then it would become part of quality assurance type of an activity. Clear? So the process improvement initiatives that we would carry out will be quality assurance type of an activity, or the risk identification that we would carry out, right? And we would implement a preventive action, and that is what we would call as a control measure in order to mitigate that risk. Because if you allow the risk to become a reality, then it would result in some serious damage. So in order to prevent that damage from happening in the first place, we would need to implement some preventive action, which would be the control measure. So this control measure would ensure that the process doesn't really produce any defective output. So risk identification, process improvements, all these are quality assurance type of activities, or input inspection, or for that matter, adherence to some of the best standards and systems. Like you might have heard about the ISO 9000 standards and systems. So ISO 9000 standards and systems, they contain some of the best practices that each and every organization needs to practice in order to ensure that the output delivered by their processes are highly efficient and effective, right? So these are the best practices that we need to follow. So adherence to all these standard best practices will also be part of the quality assurance type of activity, right? So this is a key difference between quality control and quality assurance. So as we can see, quality assurance is a proactive activity because you are proactively taking steps to prevent the process from delivering any defective output. Whereas quality control is a reactive activity because we'll only be able to validate whether the output contains any defect or not. Quality assurance is all about preventing the process from producing defective output. So quality assurance is a proactive activity. So relating to this, we are going to look at the next set of quality terminologies, CAPA, corrective action and preventive action. Right? You might have heard about all these terminologies, corrective action and preventive action. In fact, there are 3 stages here. The first one is a correction. So when you will perform correction, so correction will be performed immediately after identifying the defect or the damage. So when you will perform the correction, correction will be done immediately after identifying a defect or a damage. Then we will perform what is called as corrective action. So corrective action are the set of activities that will be implemented in order to prevent the reoccurrence of a defect or a damage. So a defect or a damage has already occurred, but then you want to ensure that a similar defect or a damage doesn't occur in the future. So what we will do, we will perform a root cause analysis, trying to figure out what is the root cause for this defect or damage, and we will come up with appropriate corrective action. So when you implement corrective action, it means that the defect has already happened and we are only trying to prevent the reoccurrence of a similar defect or a damage, right? So tsunami struck us in 2004, right? So that damage has already happened. Now, whatever actions that people may take after the tsunami has actually hit the countries, the various countries, they will be only called as corrective action, right? So corrective action is something that you would implement in order to prevent reoccurrence of a similar defect or a damage. Whereas the third one, preventive action, these are the proactive actions that we will implement in order to prevent the occurrence of a defect or a damage in the first place, right? So the preventive action is something that you would implement after identifying a risk. So the mitigation action or the control measures that we will implement after identifying a risk will be your preventive action. So these are the activities that will be implemented in order to prevent the occurrence of a defect or damage in the first place. Now let us take a very, very simple example which we all can easily associate with. So let us take the example of a person riding a two-wheeler. If that person is going to proactively wear a helmet and then ride a two-wheeler, so this is a preventive action, right? Why this person is wearing a helmet? Because the person anticipates the risk of meeting up with an accident when he rides a two-wheeler, and the impact of that particular accident could be serious head injuries. So in order to mitigate the impact that would be experienced due to that accident, the person would proactively wear a helmet, and wearing a helmet here will be preventive action, right? Whereas there is another individual who actually used to ride a two-wheeler without wearing a helmet. And this person unfortunately met up with an accident and he suffered serious head injuries. So he got treated in the hospital, right? After returning back home, he started riding the two-wheeler once again. Now, as a lesson learned, he now starts wearing a helmet, right? Now, this action of the person after suffering serious head injuries and then coming back home and then, when he is about to ride a two-wheeler, starts wearing a helmet. So this will be termed as a corrective action because here wearing the helmet takes place after experiencing a damage in the form of, the form of experiencing serious head injuries. Clear the difference? The action is same. What is the action here? Wearing a helmet. But the timing of performing the action will determine whether it is a corrective action or a preventive action. Damage has already happened. You're only performing that action to prevent the reoccurrence of a similar damage, then it is a corrective action. But you anticipate a damage to happen because of certain risk and you proactively perform that action, then it becomes a preventive action. So the difference between corrective action and preventive action. So many people would think correction is actually corrective action and corrective action is preventive action. No, correction is totally different. Correction is something that we will do immediately after identifying a defect or damage, whereas corrective action, the set of actions that we will implement in order to prevent the reoccurrence of a defect or damage, whereas the preventive action is something that we will implement in order to prevent the occurrence of a defect or damage in the first place. So this can be done only if you are identifying something as a risk so that you can come up with a mitigation plan or control measure, and that mitigation plan or control measure will be termed as preventive action. Now you can always look at this helmet example, and then you can also work out what would be the cost attached to the implementation of corrective action and implementation of preventive action, or even performing the correction. So when the person doesn't wear a helmet and when he rides a two-wheeler and then unfortunately meets up with an accident and suffers some serious head injuries, so what will be the cost incurred for making the correction, that is getting the treatment in the hospital? It will run into several thousands of dollars, right? So it will run into several thousands of dollars, unimaginable. It will run into huge cost, right? It's not very easy. But then just think about the person who is actually implementing a preventive action. What that person is going to do is merely going to buy a helmet. That's it, right? So it will not cost much. Look at the cost comparison. So the cost for performing the correction, that is getting treated in the hospital for the serious head injuries, will be much higher than the cost one would incur for implementing the preventive action, which is buying and wearing the helmet proactively, right? So many organization leadership would hesitate to actually implement preventive action because they would be thinking, when the damage has not yet happened, why unnecessarily we need to incur some cost? by implementing this preventive action, right? So they will wait for the damage to happen, and then they will think about implementing a corrective action and post performing the correction. But little would they realize that the cost associated with performing a correction and a corrective action will be much higher than the cost one would incur for implementing a preventive action. So this helmet example is more than sufficient for you to understand. So what would be the cost associated with the correction part, and what would be the cost associated with the preventive action part, right? Implementation of the preventive action part. Clear about all these three terminologies? So we will also discuss about a story here called kite flying story, and we will try to understand the various quality terminologies hidden in the story so that you can get a better understanding about what is correction, what is corrective action, and preventive action. And apart from this, some other important quality terminologies as well. So the story goes something like this. So there was a young boy was very fond of flying kite. So every day he used to go to the terrace of his house and would fly the kite right from the terrace. And one day, while flying the kite, the boy accidentally fell down from the terrace and he actually fractured his right elbow. So, hearing the boy crying loud, the father of the boy took him to the hospital where the doctors performed a bone setting procedure. So, they bandaged his right elbow and they sent the boy home, right? So now the father, after bringing the boy home, wanted to find out why his son actually fell down from the rooftop. So he went up to the terrace of his house and he could observe the height of the parapet wall on the rooftop was not high enough to prevent his son from falling down. So what did the father do here? The father raised the height of the parapet wall on the rooftop. Now, the neighbor also had a son who was also very fond of flying kites, and his rooftop also did not have a very high parapet wall. Now, what the neighbor did, looking at the experiences of the boy's father, the neighbor also proactively raised the height of the parapet wall on his rooftop. Now, after some time, the boy's father, right? So after his son started flying kite once again, right? After raising the height of the parapet wall, the son started flying kite once again on the rooftop. So the boy's father went up to the rooftop and tried to find out whether the height of the parapet wall is now high enough to prevent his son from falling down once again. So this is how the story goes. Now in this story, what will be called as a defect? So in this story, what will be termed as a defect? Anyone?
Rooftop.
So that comes later, even before that.
Height of the parapet wall was
No, that comes later, right? Even before that. So what will be the defect here?
The sun,
Prediction of height.
height of-
Prediction of height for the parapet wall.
No, that's what I told you. The height of the parapet wall will come at a later stage. But even before that, there's so many things that happened, right? So what will
The
be
boy
termed as a
fell down.
defect? Boy
The
falling
supervision
down
of-
and yeah, the boy
supervision
falling
of
down.
child.
Exactly. The fractured right elbow is what we would call as the defect. So what is the correction made here by the doctors? So once the
Nothing.
defect is identified, we need to perform the correction. What is the correction carried out? That is the
Is
putting
bone
bandage on
surgery
his
done,
right
yeah.
elbow is the
Bandage.
correction.
Bandage.
Yeah. Is the bone setting procedure is the correction, right?
Mhm.
And what is the root cause analysis performed by the boy's father?
The height of the wall.
Yeah, so going up to the rooftop and then trying to find out why his son actually fell down from the rooftop is the root cause analysis conducted by the boy's father. What was the root cause here? What is the root cause?
Lesser parapet. Lesser
Height of the parapet wall.
Yeah,
It was
height of
not
the
high
wall,
enough,
yeah.
Increasing
right, to
height.
prevent. So that is the corrective action. So first is the root cause. Root cause is the The height of the parapet wall was not high enough to prevent the boy from falling down, right? So what was the corrective action done by the boy's father? He increased the height of the parapet wall. So that is the corrective action. What is the preventive action in the story?
The neighbor.
Neighbor also very good. So the neighbor also raising the height of the parapet wall is the preventive action, because neighbor hasn't experienced any such thing, right? So his son was hale and healthy, but neighbor also proactively, increasing the height of his parapet wall on the rooftop is the preventive action carried out. And then what is the validation of the corrective action implemented here?
When he checked again after.
Yeah, that is very, very, very important, right? So many times we would implement all these actions and then we will forget about it. We will not be bothered as to whether that action is fulfilling our objective or not, right? So this is very, very important. So we need to validate whether the action implemented is effective or not. So the father of the boy, once again going up to the rooftop, after his son started flying kite once again, he just went and checked whether the height of the parapet wall now is high enough to prevent his son from falling down once again, is the validation of the corrective action that is implemented. Clear?
Where does assessing the risk come in this?
Assessing the risk as such, doesn't come because only the corrective action has been implemented by the boy's father. But the neighbor, also kind of anticipating that a similar fate can happen to his son, right, is the assessment of risk, that is performed by the neighbor. So risk is something that you would proactively assess. So we will not, call something as a risk after the damage has happened. So risk will become a reality then, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a very small story just to help you understand all these quality terminologies.
Yeah, I was able to correlate with the current industry. I was confused with the corrective and preventive action. So now I'm able to correlate.
Yeah, many people have this confusion. And as I told you, they will think correction is corrective action.
Yeah,
and corrective action is preventive action.
Yeah, preventive action is mostly done at the R&D level.
Yeah, exactly. We need to identify the risk in order to implement the preventive action.
Yeah, they experience the existing product and do the R&D on the
exactly, 100%.
Very clear. Thank you.
Yeah. So next set of terminologies that we are going to look at is cause and effect. Very, very, very important from a Six Sigma point of view. You will understand soon why it is very, very important. So what is an effect? So as we all know, effect is nothing but the ultimate impact that would be experienced due to a single or multiple causes. So this definition or in this particular phrase, what we can clearly understand is the effect cannot happen in silo, right? It cannot happen independently, right? So effect is the ultimate impact that will be experienced due to a single or multiple causes. So effect cannot happen on its own, or it cannot happen in silo, or it cannot happen independently, and it will always be driven by a single or multiple causes. So occurrence of a defect or occurrence of an error is an effect, right? So why this defect has happened, you can always come up with list of causes, right? So effect, as we can see, might not have happened on its own. So it has been driven by a set of causes, or there could be a single cause influencing this effect. A student scoring low marks in the examination is an effect, right? It's an output or an effect. Now, there could be a set of causes which might be influencing this effect. Maybe the student found the subject too hard to understand, or the lecturer did not come regularly during the previous semester. So like this, you can, come up with multiple causes which has resulted in this particular effect, that is student scoring low marks in the examination, right? So what we are supposed to do here, since effect cannot happen on its own, it will always be driven by a single or multiple causes. We need to identify the root cause or root causes influencing the effect. and we need to take appropriate action to attack these root causes. Then only we can see some improvement in the effect. And this improvement will be a permanent improvement. But then if you are going to directly attack the effect, you will get only a temporary solution. Very, very, very important, right? So only when we are able to identify the cause or the root cause or root causes influencing the effect and take appropriate action to attack those root causes, we will be able to get a permanent solution. Say, for example, right? So there is a person who gets headache quite frequently. So he's a chronic headache patient, right? So if you keep getting a particular ailment, then you'll be called as a chronic patient. So the person is a chronic headache patient. Now, the person is going, headache, as we all know, is a effect, right? It's a symptom. It's a output, right? So this is a symptom due to a particular health ailment, correct? So headache or fever, these are all symptoms. Symptom or effect or output all mean one and the same. Now, if this person is going to take painkillers, right, in order to get relieved of this headache problem, it means the person is directly attacking the effect, right? Taking painkillers is like directly attacking the effect. Now, what this person needs to do when he is getting frequent headaches, so he has to investigate. He has to find out, because headache, as I told you, is only a symptom. It's the effect. So if you are going to, attack the effect by taking painkillers, the impact of the or the effect of the painkiller will be there only for some time. So after the impact of the painkiller vanishes, the headache will resurface once again, right? So you'll not get a permanent cure. You can only get a temporary cure. So what this person is supposed to do? So knowing fully well that headache is a symptom of a health ailment, the person should investigate. So what is that health ailment which is actually triggering this headache? So as we all know, headache can be triggered due to some, stress related issue, or due to brain issue, or due to eye issue, or due to stomach problem. So what is the issue or the health ailment that the person is carrying, which is actually triggering this headache, is something that people need to investigate. And we need to take medicine for that basic root cause health ailment, which is actually triggering this headache. Only then the person will be relieved of this headache problem once for all. Understood, right? So if it is due to stomach problem, what the person needs to do, he has to take medicines in order to cure that stomach issue. Then only he can get relieved of this headache problem once for all. Otherwise, the headache will be kind of not there till the effect of the painkiller is there. Once the effect of the painkiller vanishes, the headache will resurface once again if someone is a chronic headache patient, right? So it's important for us to identify and attack the root causes influencing the effect in order to get a permanent solution, right? So, say, for example, this could sound hilarious, but then let me quote this. So if you find that a student has scored low marks in the examination, and if someone is going to advise that student, you better copy in the next exam so that you can score some good marks. So this is like directly attacking the effect, right? So he's not even bothered to find out what is the root cause as to why the student has scored so low in the examination. So he's straight away suggesting that copy in the exam. So copying in the exam is a action which is like directly attacking the effect. So when the person is going to copy in the exam, what may happen? The person may get caught. The person may also probably face some serious consequences because of that, right? Similarly, if someone says that, I want to become rich, and if a person is going to advise that individual that print currency notes and then you can become rich. So this is like directly attacking the effect, right? So what is that we are supposed to do? We need to find out what are all the factors or the causes, right, that would actually influence this effect. So if you want to become rich, obviously we need to advise that person that, study well, right? Work hard, work smart, right? And then make use of every given opportunity. Then you can scale up in the career. Then you can earn more money, right? Your position will get elevated in your professional setup, and you can become rich in due course of time, right? So this is how we need to follow, or this is how we need to attack. So if someone is going to advise that print currency notes and you can become rich, so this is like directly attacking the effect, which can provide a temporary relief till that person gets caught, right? So this is not a right advice. So attacking the effect, as we can understand through all these examples, will give only a temporary solution. Always remember about the painkillers, right? If someone is a chronic headache patient, or someone keeps getting this fever every now and then, so the person needs to understand there is some root cause health ailment which is triggering these symptoms. So merely taking a paracetamol or a painkiller is not going to solve the problem permanently. So the person will have to find out what is the root cause health ailment, and we need to attack the same in order to get a permanent solution. So Six Sigma also advocates the same thing. So that is why I told you this is a very, very important pair of terminologies as far as Six Sigma is concerned. In fact, in Six Sigma, we have a separate phase called analyze phase, which talks about identifying the causes and the root causes influencing the business problem. So here the business problem is going to be the effect, right? That is what we will identify initially during the define phase. So once we have identified that this is the business problem that I currently have, I need to find out what are the root causes influencing this business problem, and I need to attack the same with relevant solutions. So the third phase of this DMAIC approach would talk about identification of root causes, right? And the fourth phase, that is the improve phase, would talk about implementing the solutions in order to attack these root causes and improve the current scenario, right? That means eradicating the business problem once for all. So that is the route that we are going to take as part of our Six Sigma initiative. So Six Sigma would strongly focus on identifying and attacking the root causes in order to get a permanent solution. So in Six Sigma, we need to understand that effect is denoted by capital Y and the cause is denoted by capital X. So out of these two variables, we have effect on one side and cause on the other side. Which one will be called as a dependent variable? Which one will be called as an independent variable? Any idea? So we have effect on one side and cause on the other side. So which one will be called as an independent variable and which one will be called as a dependent variable?
Cause is a independent variable.
Very good. Cause is an independent variable and effect is a dependent variable. Why effect is called as a dependent variable? Because we just now learned that effect cannot happen in silo. It will always be influenced by a single or multiple causes, right? So effect will be the dependent variable because it will be dependent on a single cause or multiple causes, and cause could be your independent variable. So in Six Sigma, effect is denoted by capital Y and cause is denoted by capital X. Now let us move on to the next thing, which is getting introduced to the process improvement methodologies, right? This is a core part of our study. So we need to understand the commonly used process improvement methodologies. So first we have Kaizen. So as I told you, Kaizen and Lean are a couple of process improvement methodologies introduced by Japan. So it actually originated from Japan. So that is why Kaizen is actually a Japanese name. As we can see, it means change for the better. Kaizen in Japanese, it means change for the better. So what is this Kaizen? So Kaizen, as we can see, these are the small and continuous process improvements which can be carried out by an individual employee who could even be at the ground level of an organization hierarchy. So Kaizen, as we can understand, need not be carried out by group of people. So it can be carried out by individual employees working in an organization, and this employee can even be at the ground level of an organization hierarchy, which means this employee can even be at the entry level in an organization hierarchy. So Kaizen is not restricted to only the leadership people, right? The people at the mid management or the top management. Kaizen is open to all the employees. That is the beauty of this process improvement, right? Because we wouldn't require a project team to work on all these Kaizens. These are all simple and small process improvements that can be carried out even by an individual employee, right? And we don't need to have this employee occupying a certain level in the organization hierarchy in order to contribute Kaizens. And this employee can even be at the entry level of an organization hierarchy, right? So let us take an example. So what could be a Kaizen? So say for example, there is an individual employee who has a lot of documents to be maintained in his computer system. So because of this, as and when the leadership requires a particular document, the employee is forced to search for the document in his computer system, and it takes some time for that employee to retrieve that document after putting in lot of effort, right? Searching is not going to be easy, right? So the employee might have to put in lot of effort to search for the document and then retrieve it. And the management is also not going to be happy. They want the document to be sent immediately. And if this person is going to take, say, 15 minutes or 20 minutes to retrieve the document with so much of effort, the management is not going to be pleased with that. So what this person can actually do is come up with a Kaizen. What sort of Kaizen he can perform? So he can come up with the list of important documents, right? He can first come up with the list of important documents which the management might be requiring on a routine basis. And for these list of documents, he can come up with a link, right? The link where the document has been stored in his computer system. So moment the person clicks that link, it will straight away take him to the place where the document has been stored in his computer system. It's a very simple Kaizen, right? So look at the amount of time that the person can actually save each and every time a certain document is required by the management. This is going to be frequent. So obviously you can look at the quantum of the time saved by this employee in retrieving a particular document, right? So this kind of a file directory system will help the employee to retrieve a particular document without any delay. So this is a very simple Kaizen, which, in fact, all the employees who are, maintaining lot of files in their computer system can even think of. So they might be already doing it. We do not know. So this is so simple to this extent. So that is why I'm just giving you this example, because as you can see, implementation of Kaizen here, it doesn't require a project team to kind of implement, right? So this can be thought of and implemented by a individual employee working in that organization, and it's not necessary that the employee has to be a manager or a team lead to work on this Kaizen. So even people occupying a lower level in the organization hierarchy can contribute with Kaizen, right? So that is why whenever you think of implementing the process improvement framework in your organization, we will not straight away think about implementing Lean or Six Sigma. We would ideally start with Kaizen, because Kaizen is something that is open to all the employees working in that organization, right? And each and every employee will be motivated to contribute Kaizen. Then only they will understand the value of process improvement. And slowly we can move on to the Lean and Six Sigma part of it, right? But initially, when we implement the process improvement framework, we would ideally start by implementing the Kaizen framework, right? Which is open to all the employees working that organization. So motivating people to actually think. So only if they think that process improvements can be carried out, to the existing process, improvement ideas also will start triggering in their mind. Is it not? So if a person firmly believes that the current process which he is working upon cannot be improved any further, then he will not be able to think about any improvement ideas. Correct? So first, the person who is actually working in that process needs to believe, needs to be convinced that this process can be taken to the next higher levels of efficiency. Then only the improvement ideas would get triggered in the person's mind. Right? Very, very important. And thinking and constantly thinking about process improvements is a very good idea. Otherwise, our mind will become corrupt. Right? Just imagine a scenario where, say for example, there is a rainwater, right, which has got stagnated at one place. And if you're not going to clear it, what will happen? The rainwater, since it is stagnated, it is not flowing like a stream of river. It has got stagnated at a particular place, will get contaminated, right? And will be the breeding place for all these mosquitoes and other insects, correct? So which we do not want to happen. Similarly, if your brain is not put into proper use, it will become totally corrupt. It will become totally rusty, right? So we need to keep thinking about improvements. We need to keep thinking about improving the process efficiencies. And Kaizen is one way of, coming up with all these small. We did not actually think some big process improvements, right? We can start with Kaizen. We can start thinking about some small process improvements and slowly graduate to, thinking about some big process improvements, right? So this is something that we all need to understand. Another example. So this is a real example. So there was an airline company which used to, serve lunch to its passengers during the lunchtime, of course. And as part of the lunch menu, they also used to provide a small salt packet, right? So it used to be part of the entire lunch menu. So an air hostess who was part of that airline company noticed that most of the passengers did not actually even open the salt packet, did not consume any salt at all. They were pretty much happy with whatever food that was served to them, and they didn't feel the need for adding salt to their food content, right? So many salt packets were actually being wasted without being used at all. So obviously you cannot, pick the salt packet alone after the lunch is consumed and then reuse it, right? It has to be thrown out as a waste. So it will be going down in the drain. Just imagine, a single salt packet may not cost that much. But then when we have so many volumes, being wasted day in and day out, right? So many passengers will be traveling. All right. So the airlines company will be having a lot of aircrafts, flying in different directions. And so many passengers would be traveling those aircrafts on a day-to-day basis, right? So many salt pack is being given. The volume being so high, the cost is also going to be very, very high. So this is, money going down in the drain, correct? So without even being, put into proper use. Now, the air hostess noticed this, and then she suggested a kind of an improvement idea. So what was that improvement idea? She suggested, so since, most of the passengers are not using the salt packet, they're not even consuming the salt, let us make a public announcement when the lunch is served in the aircraft that whoever requires the salt packet can actually get it on demand. So the person needs to ask for it, and the person will get it, once he or she asks for it, right? So through this, only those passengers who are in need of the salt packet will even ask for it, right? Others will just keep quiet, right? So this idea was implemented. The airlines company was able to save billions of dollars, which was otherwise going down in the drain, as I told you, right? So only those who actually required salt even asked for it, right? So this is a very small idea. This can be termed as a simple Kaizen. See the kind of impact this particular idea has created, right? Another idea. So you might have seen all these travel bag nowadays, they come up with the wheels fitted at the bottom, right? In those days, people used to physically lift their travel bags to move from one place to another, right? So it used to be very difficult. So moving a heavy bag from one place to another. Nowadays, you find all these travel bags, having the wheels fitted at the bottom. Now, this could have been an idea floated by one of the employee working in travel bag industry. We do not know, right? So the employee might have come up with this Kaizen, right? Wherein you might have suggested that fixing, couple of wheels at the bottom of the travel bag will actually make the life of a traveler much more easy, correct? So the traveler can just, drag the travel bag along, irrespective of the weight it carries. And it will be easy for him or her to move the travel bag from one place to another. So this could be the fitting of the wheels at the bottom of a travel bag could be a Kaizen, contributed by someone working in the travel bag industry. We do not know, right? So Kaizen need not be big bang ideas. These could be some small ideas which can be easily implemented by an individual employee. So you can also think about, right, some of the Kaizen ideas that you can implement in your own process areas. The next one that we have is lean. In fact, there can be a question on Kaizen. So I'll also let you know the likely questions that will be part of the final assessments, right? So there can be a question on Kaizen. So they would have asked what is Kaizen, and one of the option would be this one. So these are small and continuous process improvements which can be carried out by an individual employee who could be even at the ground level organization hierarchy, right? So you need to pick that as the right option from the multiple choice. So all those questions which are likely to be asked in the final assessment, I will make it in bold font so that it will be easy for you to retrieve it. Now, the next one that we have is lean, right? So what is lean? So lean as a philosophy is about creating perfect value to the customer through a process with zero waste. Now, what is a waste? We will learn in a short while when we discuss about the basics of lean. But then what is the value expected by the customer? Value is nothing but the output for which the customer is willing to pay. So the output for which the customer is willing to pay is what is called as the value, right? So lean as a philosophy is about creating perfect value to the customer through a process with zero waste. Again, there can be a question on lean. So let me also make this in bold font, right? So what is lean will be the question. So we need to pick this as the option. So it is a philosophy, right, aimed at creating perfect value to the customer through a process with zero waste is the option that you are supposed to pick as the right one, right? So we will talk about lean when we discuss about the basics of lean, which you are going to see before we get introduced to Six Sigma, because you would soon find that lean is actually an integral part of our Six Sigma journey. So how lean can be part of our Six Sigma journey is something that we will understand in a short while, right? And the third process improvement that we have is Six Sigma. So Six Sigma is the core part of our study. So Six Sigma process improvements are breakthrough process improvements. That means it's not a very simple process improvement. This is a significant and a huge process improvement, which would ideally result in significant dollar savings for the practicing organization, right? So that is why GE as an organization picked up this methodology called Six Sigma and practiced it quite extensively during 1990s. And they also reaped very high financial benefits, right? So even though Motorola introduced the Six Sigma methodology, as we understood when we discussed about the evolution of quality, it was General Electric as a company which adopted this Six Sigma methodology with lots of passion and interest during the 1990s, right? So Genpact is the BPO arm of General Electric. So if you visit any General Electric or Genpack offices, so you would find the reception area itself, the list of ongoing Six Sigma projects being executed by the employees, right, of that organization, because each and every employee is supposed to be trained on Six Sigma, and each and every employee is supposed to lead a Six Sigma project as well, right? So such is the importance General Electric as an organization provides to this practice called Six Sigma. So these are the breakthrough process improvements that we will be able to achieve, right, which would ideally result in significant dollar savings for the practicing organization. And this is going to be the core part of our study as well. Now, we have discussed about the three commonly used process improvement methodologies, Kaizen, Lean, and Six Sigma. Now, how to find out whether a process improvement is a Kaizen or a Lean or a Six Sigma? Right? So, in one of the organizations where I worked, people used to call each and every process improvement as a Six Sigma project. Right? In another organization, people used to call each and everything as a Lean project. So, we are not here to go and debate with them. So, as a black belt, I need to know which one can be called as a Kaizen, which one is to be called as a Lean, and which one we can call as a Six Sigma project. And for that, we need to consider a couple of things: causes and solution. Causes and solution. So the first matrix is causes are known, and the solution is also pretty simple, that even an individual employee can implement it. Then it will be called as Kaizen. The causes are known, but the solution is pretty much simple. Then we would call that as Kaizen. The second matrix, causes are known, but the solution is complex. We would call this as Lean. The causes are known. We don't have to really perform any extensive statistical data analysis to establish that so-and-so is a cause. So I'm 100% sure that, these causes do influence the business problem. But then the solution is going to be slightly complex. So you don't have to really perform any statistical data analysis to establish that so-and-so is a cause for the business problem. But then the solution that we are going to implement is going to be slightly complex. So it might probably require some automation solution to be implemented. Then we would call that as a lean project. In fact, multiple Kaizens implemented in a process area will become a lean project. So when I say complex solutions, that means, it could be one huge complex solution requiring some, automation or whatever, or it could be multiple Kaizens, implemented in a specific process area. Then we can call that also as a lean project. And the third matrix that we have is the causes are unknown, but the solution is simple. So we need not work on any project. We will ask an expert. Say, for example, in this headache scenario, right? So the causes are unknown. The person will not know what is triggering the headache, right? So what is the basic health ailment which is actually triggering the headache? But the solution is simple. The person will know that it's all the matter of identifying the root cause health ailment and taking a medicine to cure the same. So the solution is going to be simple. So you don't have to really work on any project. We need to go and ask an expert. So what this person needs to do, he has to go and consult a doctor. Doctor is the expert here. So causes are unknown, but the solution is going to be very simple. Ask an expert. And the final matrix is causes are unknown, but then the solution is also complex. We would call this as Six Sigma project. Right? The causes are unknown. The solution is also going to be complex. We would call that as Six Sigma. So Six Sigma, we need to understand, we would be exploring all these unknown causes through some extensive statistical data analysis. So this is why we would need to learn a subject called statistics as part of our Six Sigma curriculum, right? Because through some extensive statistical data analysis, we would need to explore some of these unknown causes, make it known, and finally attack the same with relevant solutions. So attacking known causes, what is the difference between Lean and Six Sigma? As we can see here, attacking the known causes will be Lean. Exploring the unknown causes through some extensive statistical data analysis and then, attacking the same with relevant solutions will be Six Sigma. So that is why, Six Sigma will take a longer duration to execute, right? It cannot be achieved overnight. A typical green belt project will take roughly around 4 months time to complete, wherein you would be trying to attack a business problem concerning with the process area. So there is a process and you have a business problem relating to that process. Then we can work on a green belt project for which you would typically need some 4 months time to complete. Whereas if it is a black belt project where the scope will be slightly wider, so you'll be trying to attack a business problem pertaining to the entire organization. So you are trying to reduce the attrition rate. You are trying to reduce the transportation cost because this problem would actually cover the entire organization, right? So this would be a black belt project. So the benefit that you would get will also be significantly higher compared to a green belt initiative. So since the scope is somewhat wider, so you will also be required to implement some of the advanced statistical tools and techniques as part of your black belt initiative. So you are supposed to complete a black belt project successfully within 6 months duration. So that is the time frame given for a black belt project. So the leadership cannot expect the results to happen overnight if the project team is working on Six Sigma projects, because they need to explore all these unknown causes, which will not be easy. So if the causes are known to you, then it's very easy for us to go ahead and implement the solution. Only the solution implementation may take some time, right? So that is why lean projects can be performed, say maximum within 2 months time, right? So where it will take some time for implementing the solutions because it's a complex solution. But the causes, you will not spend much time because all these causes will be known to you. We know 100% that these are the causes influencing the business problem. Say, for example, if you have a business problem pertaining to higher number of errors or higher number of defects, right, identified in a particular process. And you might be knowing that, the skill level of the employees is not all that appropriate, right, which has resulted in these employees committing frequent errors in the process. And due to this, the process is having higher number of errors. So when you are absolutely sure that skill level of the employees, certain group of employees is the primary reason for this, so you don't have to really substantiate this with the data analysis. You can straight away go ahead and attack the cause, known cause with relevant solution. Then it will become a lean project, right? But then you might actually improve the process performance up to a certain extent by attacking the known causes. But you will not be satisfied because Six Sigma is all about coming up with a breakthrough process improvement. So you would want a huge improvement to be accomplished. So in that case, you need to search for these unknown causes, right, through some extensive data analysis. And that is when you will start applying Six Sigma tools and techniques. So whenever we have a business problem, what we can clearly understand through this is we will first attack all these known causes and then we will try to explore the unknown causes at a later point of time by performing some data analysis, right? So that is why all these Six Sigma projects will be termed as Lean Six Sigma initiatives. So lean as a process improvement will precede Six Sigma. So whenever we have a business problem, as I told you, the tendency will be to attack the known causes first, and then we will start exploring the unknown causes because we would be aiming for breakthrough process improvement, which you cannot achieve by simply performing the lean process improvements, because you will be attacking few of the known causes. That's it. But if you want that breakthrough improvement to be achieved, then we need to explore the unknown causes, and that can be done only through application of Six Sigma tools and techniques, specifically the statistical tools and techniques. So that is why all these Six Sigma projects will be called as Lean Six Sigma projects, right? And this is the primary reason why we are going to look at basics of lean as part of our Six Sigma training program, right? So lean as a process improvement, as I told you, would always precede Six Sigma, because lean would focus on attacking the known causes, whereas Six Sigma would focus on exploring the unknown causes, making it known, and finally attacking the same with relevant solution. Say, for example, you have a table with full of dust particles, right? So what you would normally do, so you will take a piece of cloth and then wipe off the dust particles that are there on the surface of the table. So you'll also apply a little bit more force so that all those tiny dust particles get cleared. But even after wiping it with the piece of cloth, you're still not satisfied, right? So the table surface seems to be somewhat dull. So what you will try to do, you will pick up a lens and then see through the lens whether there are some tiny little dust particles still hanging on to the surface of the table, right? So where these tiny dust particles are located, so all these things you'll be able to find when you actually see through the lens. And after seeing through the lens, you'll again take the piece of cloth, probably apply some chemical solution to it, and wipe off all those tiny little dust particles still hanging on to the surface of the table with some additional force, right? So the first act of yours, wherein you are able to identify or detect the presence of dust particles on the surface of the table with our naked eye, is like performing a lean project, wherein you don't have to really explore identification of causes. The causes are known to you. The second act of yours, which involved taking a lens and then seeing through it, those tiny little dust particles still hanging on to the surface of the table, is like performing a Six Sigma project, right? So even though our aim is to work on a Six Sigma project, so we will first look at attacking the known causes for the identified business problem before venturing into exploring the unknown causes, which is the core part of the Six Sigma journey, right? So when we try to explore these unknown causes, that is when we'll be using these statistical tools and techniques quite extensively, right? So even otherwise, as part of our Six Sigma journey, each and everything that we would establish needs to be substantiated with the help of data. So that is why data is considered to be the backbone of a Six Sigma project. So if you are going to present a Six Sigma project with full of English, it will be summarily rejected. So you need to substantiate each and every decision that you have taken as part of your project exercise with the help of data. So data analysis are integral part of our Six Sigma journey. So that is why we learn all these statistical tools and techniques from the second phase onward. That is the measure phase. So measure phase is when you will measure the quantum of the business problem and express it in some numerical terms. We look at all those things. And that's when you will also start using the statistical tools and techniques. But for now, let us look at basics of lean, because lean is an integral part of our Six Sigma journey. But we are not going to look at all these lean tools and techniques in an extensive manner, because as you all know, this is a Six Sigma training program. So we'll be focusing more on learning the Six Sigma tools and techniques, specifically the statistical tools and techniques. But since lean is an integral part of our Six Sigma project, we are going to touch base on lean. Lean as a concept is taught extensively as part of your yellow belt curriculum. So the application opportunities of whatever lean tools that we are going to learn will be taught quite extensively as part of your yellow belt curriculum. But as part of this green and black belt curriculum, we are going to touch base on all these lean concepts, because there will be only a couple of questions asked about lean in the final assessment. Most of the questions will be pertaining to the Six Sigma tools and techniques. Fine. So let us look at basics of lean at a high level. So lean, as we all know by this time, it's a process improvement methodology originated from Japan. If we want to be very specific, it actually originated in Toyota production system, right? So Toyota is a famous car company in Japan. So they assemble all these unit cars, as we all know. So it's an interesting story as to how, lean got introduced in this Toyota production system. So Toyota, during the early part of 1970s, they were facing huge demand for its cars. So Toyota, as a car manufacturing company, they were facing huge demand for its cars during the early part of 1970s, around 1971-72. So Toyota was actually not able to cater to the existing demand for its cars, right? Because they were taking a longer time to assemble a unit car. So since they were taking a longer time to assemble a unit car, they were not able to cater to the demands of its customers. So due to this, Toyota was basically losing their business, right? So there used to be huge revenue loss, because as a customer, you would not wait for Toyota to take its own time delivering the car. So you will try to find out some other car brand, correct? So you'll not wait for Toyota unless and until you are a staunch, follower of the Toyota, or you are a staunch enthusiast of Toyota cars. You would be willing to wait even for months together to get the Toyota car. But someone, who just wants to have a car, if they don't find Toyota, right, they will look out for something else, right? So because of this, Toyota was actually facing huge revenue loss and also loss of business opportunities. And the Toyota top management obviously was very much worried with this situation. So they decided to go to US and look at the Ford operations. So Ford is another car manufacturing company. So Ford is supposed to be a pioneer car manufacturing company in those days. And Toyota top management thought that they would be able to learn some of the best practices followed by Ford, so that they can come and implement the same in their production process. So thinking that they would be able to learn some, best practices at Ford, so they expectantly, kind of traveled all the way to US from Japan, and they looked at the Ford operations. So the Ford was also manufacturing their cars in a similar way as Toyota, right? So they couldn't find anything new. They couldn't learn anything new from the Ford operations, because Ford was also manufacturing more or less in the same way as Toyota. So they were pretty much disappointed that their US visit was not all that fruitful. So they decided to come back to Japan. So before traveling back to Japan, the Toyota top management happened to witness a water dispenser in a supermarket mall. So they happened to witness a water dispenser in a supermarket mall. So the water dispenser had an empty glass, standing on the platform. So the moment the empty glass was filled in and removed from the platform, another empty glass popped up and stood on the platform. The moment the empty glass was filled in with water and removed from that platform, another empty glass popped up automatically and stood on the platform, right? So this actually triggered a thought in the minds of the Toyota top management. Not only this, they also happened to witness a Formula One car racing championship. So those who are familiar with the Formula One car racing championship would know there is something called pit stop. So what is a pit stop? Pit stop is the place where the car facing a technical issue will get attended by a group of engineers associated with that racing car brand, right? So when the racing car stands in front of the pit stop, a group of engineers will immediately emerge from the pit stop and they will attend to that car. So one person will attend to the engine. Another person will find whether the wheels are in proper alignment with the steering. Another person will find out whether the other parts of the car are working properly or not, right? So all these activities needs to be performed within a very short span of time, because the car would have developed some issue during the mid course of a race. So that being the case, the intention should be to put the car back on the racing track as early as possible. So all these engineers who would have been assigned with some specific role and responsibility, will attend to their part and immediately would ensure that the car is put back on the racing track as early as possible. So all these things triggered some productive thoughts in the minds of the Toyota top management. And when they came back, they revamped the entire Toyota production system. So the earlier Toyota production system was something like this. There used to be a huge shop floor. So those who are familiar with this manufacturing process will know what is a shop floor. Shop floor is where the production would actually happen. So there used to be a huge shop floor, that manufacturing organization, and the cars used to be stationed in that shop floor in an haphazard manner. So there will not be any kind of structure maintained while when the cars are stationed like this. So they would be stationed or they will be parked in an haphazard manner, and there will be different worker groups who would be assembling a unit car. So there will be a worker group who would be entrusted with the role of assembling the engine. There will be another worker group who would be assembling the wheels. There will be another worker group who would be assembling the doors. So like this, there will be multiple worker groups who would be entrusted with the responsibility of assembling a particular item in that unit car, right? So the worker groups will be loitering around the shop floor. They will not even know whether they have already attended to a particular car or not. So the concerned worker group will have to come and check a unit car. Only then they will be able to understand whether they have already attended to that unit car or they still have something to attend to, right? So there used to be a lot of movements taking place here. So the cars used to be stationary and the worker groups used to move from one car to another. The cars also would not have been parked in a very structured manner. So it could have been scattered in a haphazard manner in the shop floor, and the worker force will not even know whether they have already attended to a particular unit car unless and until they actually go nearer to that car and then find out, right? So this actually resulted in a lot of motion waste. Unnecessary body movements is what we would call as a motion waste. We'll discuss about the motion waste tomorrow. But then you can see the workforce, roaming without even knowing whether they have already attended to a particular unit car or not, is like a motion waste here, right? So this actually resulted in the cars being assembled with a higher cycle time. Cycle time means the time taken to assemble a unit car. So the workforce, used to take a longer time to actually assemble a unit car. And this actually resulted in Toyota not being able to cater to the existing demand that is prevailing for its cars in the market. Now, after coming back from US, the Toyota top management revamped the entire Toyota production system. Now, what they did, they made the workforce stationary. So they created workstations, W1, W2, W3, etc. And they made the cars to move in a conveyor belt kind of a system. In the earlier instance, the cars were stationary, the shop floor, and the workforce were moving from one car to another. The revamped production system, what Toyota did, they made the cars to move in a conveyor belt kind of a system, and they made the workforce stationary. So they created workstations and made the workforce stationary. So workstation 1 would be entrusted with the job of fixing up the engine for a unit car. Workstation 2 was entrusted with the job of fixing up the wheels and the steering. Workstation 3, the doors. So like this, each workstation had some specific role and responsibility to fulfill, and the cars used to move in a conveyor belt kind of system. So when a car has moved from workstation 2 to workstation 3 will know very well that they are yet to attend to that particular unit car. So they will go and assemble whatever they are supposed to do, right? So here the previous thing, as I told you, the workforce will not even know whether they have already attended to a particular unit car or not, unless and until they go nearer to that car and then check. But here in this conveyor belt kind of a system, a particular workstation would know that they haven't yet attended to this unit car, and this is the first time they are looking at this car. So they will immediately go and do their work without any issue, right? So there could be a proper coordination between these workstations as well. So as and when workstation 3 is about to complete its current job, so workstation 2 also would be completing its current activity, and the car will be ready to move from workstation 2 to workstation 3. Similarly, as and when workstation 2 is about to complete its current activity, workstation 1 would have already done its part of the work, and the car will be ready to move from workstation 1 to workstation 2. So this proper coordination of the various workstations resulted in elimination of the waiting time waste or the idle time waste between any two workstations. So when there is a proper coordination, as and when the workstation 2 completes its current activity, workstation 1 would send the car to workstation 2, right? So workstation 2 immediately will have a new car to attend to, because there is a proper coordination. So the staffing also will be done as per that, right? So if workstation 1 is a complex job, then obviously it would require higher number of employees to be stationed here. So through this revamped Toyota production system, the Toyota top management was able to ensure that they are able to assemble a unit car taking a lesser cycle time, and they were able to comfortably meet the current demand existing for its cars in the market. So this kind of a revamped Toyota production system gave way for lean as a process improvement methodology. So waiting time waste was eliminated, motion waste was eliminated through this process proper coordination. Extra processing waste was eliminated, overproduction waste was eliminated, right? So there were multiple ways which got eliminated through this Toyota production system, and this actually paved way for the birth of lean as a process improvement methodology. So this is how lean originated in Toyota production system. So as we all know, what is lean? So lean is about identifying and eliminating the waste hidden in a process. So you've already seen this explanation. But what is the waste? Waste is nothing but the non-value added activities that you would practice in your process. So what is a non-value added activity? Any activity that doesn't add value to the output delivered by the process in terms of shape, size, or quality. So any activity that doesn't add value to the output delivered by the process in terms of shape, size, or quality. So those activities will be called as non-value added activities, and these NVAs will be referred as waste as far as lean is concerned. So if you are able to remove or eliminate these waste or NVAs from your process stream, then we will be able to execute the process within a shorter time frame. So the person becomes lean. The person will be able to move faster. If the process becomes lean through elimination of waste or non-value added activities, then we can execute the process within a shorter time frame. In all these lean improvements, if you see, time reduction will be the primary objective. So that is why all these lean metrics are time-based metrics. So whenever we work on a lean project, our primary focus will be to reduce the overall time taken to execute a particular process. So it's all about removing the waste or the non-value added steps that we would be performing in our process chain. Thereby, we would be able to execute the process within a shorter time frame. So this is the primary objective of any lean project. Now, what could be the typical NVAs that you can easily identify in your own processes? Say, for example, rework, we already seen, which would lead to cost of poor quality, is a wasteful activity. So everyone is supposed to process right first time, right? There should not be any defect identified in the output. So only if the defect is identified, the team would be compelled to perform rework or correction. So which is a wasteful activity. Sending reminders is a waste, is a non-value added activity. So the person is supposed to remember what he or she should be doing, right? So the person should not ideally require a reminder to be sent, right? So sending reminder is a non-value added activity. And then following up is a non-value added activity. So there is an upstream processor who has not provided adequate information or adequate set of documents to the downstream processor to process further. So the downstream processor will be forced to perform a follow-up with the upstream processor asking for all these information. So this follow-up is also a non-value added activity. So what is the ideal way? The upstream processor should be knowing what are all the information that would be required by the downstream processor, or what are all the documents that would be required by the downstream processor, and should have provided the same when he passed on that material or passed on that transaction to the downstream processor. So there should not be any need for the downstream processor to follow up with the upstream processor for want of any information or document. So the follow-up activity is also a non-value added activity. So these are all some of the things that we can easily find in our own processes as well, right? Or waiting time waste. So when there is some kind of idle time experienced, whenever a handover takes place between any two activities, so that is what we would call as the waiting time waste. Say there are multiple people working in your process. So the output will get transferred from one person to another because it will be flowing in the process stream, right? So there is a processor A, processor B, and processor C, right? So when we have multiple people working the process, so what are the various handovers that we can identify here? A to B is one handover. B to C is another handover. Similarly, in this Toyota revamped production system, workstation 1 to workstation 2 is a handover. Workstation 2 to workstation 3 is another handover. Now, whenever this handover takes place, there is a opportunity for this waiting time waste to kind of incur, right? So what is that opportunity? Suppose there is no proper coordination between these workstations. So workstation 2 has already completed its job, but workstation 1 is yet to complete its current activity. So workstation 2 will be waiting for the car to arrive from workstation 1, right? So here when workstation 2 is going to sit idle, that is what we would call as the waiting time waste, right? So whenever we have these handoffs taking place between any two activities, we can witness this waiting time waste as well, right? So this waiting time waste can be easily identified in our processes as well. So here it's time for me to also, let you know some of the terminologies. So B here will be called as the midstream process for A and C. A will be the upstream process for B and C. C will be the downstream process for A and B, right? Or can call this as an activity because we are talking about activity. So A is the upstream activity for both B and C. B is the midstream activity for both A and C. C is the downstream activity for both A and B. So this is what we would call as activities arranged in a series. When I say activities arranged in a series, that means one after another, right? So there can be certain activities which might be arranged in parallel. So when we execute A, probably another set of people or another person will be executing D. We do not know, right? So some of the activities can be, executed in parallel as well. But then you will find majority of the activities being executed in series, that is one after another. So whenever we have these activities executed in a series, we can definitely, witness the waiting time waste, or the person would be doing some follow-up with the downstream processor will be performing some follow-up with the upstream processor for want of information or want of documents. So that will also be termed as a wasteful activity or non-value added activity. Clear? Or there can be a scenario in IT and ITES organizations. If you see, people will be called for all these meetings. Some of the meetings, the individual employee will not even be able to understand why he or she has been called, right? Just because the meeting has been organized or has been invited by some top management executive, the person also will not have a choice to decline that meeting. So the person will be forced to attend the meeting because it has been convened by a top management personnel. So this being the case, so this individual employee will not know what to do. Will just go and sit in that meeting without being able to contribute anything productively. The person will not even be able to understand what is being discussed in that meeting, right? So this is basically a waste, right? So attending all these redundant meetings is a waste, which we can easily identify in our own organization, right? And similarly, sending multiple reports with the same content is a waste, right? So the top management also will know. So this particular or these set of reports will have the same content. So they will only go through the first report that is sent. The rest of the reports they will totally ignore. So whatever time that is spent for creating those additional reports with the same content is typically a waste. The non-value added activity. So these are some of the NVAs that we can easily identify in our own process areas, right? So let us stop here. So let us continue with our discussions about lean tomorrow as well. So we'll utilize the time available for our revision, right? So let us have a Q&A kind of a revision. So let us start with this, right? So definition of quality. So the traditional definition of quality focuses both on customer and service provider or manufacturer's interest. True or false? So the traditional definition of quality focuses both on the customers and the manufacturers or service providers' interest. True or false?
False.
False. So traditional definition of quality would focus only on the customer's interest.
Customer,
It's
yeah.
only the modern day definition of quality which would focus on both the customer as well as the service provider or manufacturer's interest. So what would the implied need actually address?
The hidden
What?
needs.
No, hidden is the meaning of implied, but what it would actually address?
The
What are these needs?
functionality,
Basic functionality.
functionality of the product.
Basic functionality of the product or service is what would be addressed by the implied need. If the basic functionality need is not provided to the customer, what will happen? The customer will be highly disappointed or dissatisfied with that manufacturer or service provider, right?
Yes.
So what is cost of poor quality? So what is this cost? When it will be incurred? This cost will be incurred due to process inefficiency. So if you are working on an inefficient process, then obviously we will encounter this cost of poor quality. And what is this cost of good quality? This is typically the cost one would incur for improving the process efficiency. So that is why I told you, whenever we work on these process improvements, the cost incurred for the same will be accounted under cost of good quality. And the preventive action that we would implement to mitigate a risk will be accounted. The cost incurred for implementing a preventive action, that is purchase of helmet, right, proactively, will be accounted under cost of good quality. Right? So what are the various dimensions of overall quality? So if the overall quality is denoted by capital Q, the dimensions could be the price of the product denoted by small p, the cost of operations denoted by small c, the timely delivery of the product to the customer denoted by small d, the quality or the accuracy of the product or service denoted by small q, and the morale and the safety of the workforce denoted by small m and small s respectively. So all these dimensions are pretty much interlinked, as we could see. So what is quality control? So quality control are the set of activities that we will perform at the output stage of the process. So in order to validate whether the output meets all the customer requirements. So hence quality control is a reactive type of an activity. So it will not help us to prevent any error from happening, but it will only help us to validate if the output contains error or not. So quality inspection at the output stage is typically the quality control type of an activity. So what is quality assurance? Set of activities that we would implement at the input and the processing stage of a process. So quality assurance is a proactive activity. So we can be rest assured that the process will not produce or will not deliver defective output, right? So we need to have a proper balance between quality control and quality assurance type of activity. So we cannot have 100% quality control, nor we cannot have 100% quality assurance. So it will be a mix of both, right? So if you are working on a new process, you wouldn't like to take any chance. So you will have lot of inspection being carried out at the output stage of the process. So quality control type of activities will be 100%, right? You will even go for 100% inspection. But as we start understanding the process nuances and we start improving the process efficiencies and also identify the risks associated with the process and implement some effective preventive measures, you will start reducing the sample size for your quality inspection, right? So 100% it will get reduced to 50%, 50% to 25%, 25% to 10%, and then finally you'll end up with 5%. If all these quality assurance activities are performed in a robust manner, right? But still you'll have that 5% quality inspection being carried out. So that's why I told you, because we cannot claim to have improved each and every aspect of the process. We cannot claim to have identified each and every risk associated with the process, right? So that being the case, we definitely need to practice some quantum of quality control type of activities. And kappa, what are the 3 stages in kappa? Corrective, corrective action, and then preventive action. So correction is something that we will carry out immediately after identifying a defect or damage. Corrective action, the set of activities that we would implement to prevent the reoccurrence of a defect or damage. And preventive action, the set of activities that we would implement in order to prevent the occurrence of a damage in first place. Cause and effect. So if you are going to directly attack the effect, what will happen? If you are going to directly attack the effect, what will happen?
Temporary solution.
You will get only a temporary solution. So in order to get a permanent solution, what we are supposed to do? We need to identify the root cause or root causes influencing the effect and attack the same. And what is a Kaizen? Kaizen are the small and continuous process improvements, which can be carried out by an individual employee who could even be at the ground level of an organization hierarchy, whereas lean as a philosophy is all about creating perfect value to the customer through a process with zero waste, whereas Six Sigma is a breakthrough process improvement methodology which should ideally result in significant dollar savings for the practicing organization. So when you have a business problem, when you start working on a Six Sigma project exercise, what is that you will do? We will first try to attack the known causes and then explore the unknown causes. So when you try to attack the known causes, you would need to explore the lean opportunities existing in the process. And then we will embark upon our Six Sigma journey. So that is why we are learning basics of lean right before we get introduced to Six Sigma. So we'll continue with our discussions about the lean concepts tomorrow. So we will stop here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to send the updated notes file through the common WhatsApp group. That is one thing. And I will also send you the statistical exercises file, even though we are going to start working on these problems only from the 4th day onwards. But I will send the empty file now, so you can just have it with you. So as and when we start working on these statistical exercises from the 4th day, you can also parallelly work along with me so that you'll get a better hang of how to solve these, statistical exercises, right? So let us continue with the discussions tomorrow. So have a good night. So we will connect at the same time tomorrow evening. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.